You're listening to an episode of MGM. Go to patreon.com/Metal Gear Mondays to support us, and we will, it'll fund our drinking problems to create more Metal Gear Mondays. And the cycle continues.
Mr. Boss?
Call me Jack.
Jack. All right. It says here that you have no retail experience.
I have years of field combat experience, working alongside some of the most legendary soldiers in the world.
I'm not sure how that will help you stock inventory, but we love our vets.
My country lied to me, took my family, and tarnished the legacy of a true patriot. I hate my country.
Okay. Well, it says here that you're also a skilled photographer?
War photographer.
War birds?
Birds of the battlefield.
Good name. It would make for a great coffee table book.
Thanks. I have some samples.
These look great. Good eye. Wait, is this a picture of a child in a bath suit?
She's a dove.
This is a child.
A beautiful child.
Excuse me?
Could you hold this?
What is this? Ah!
Time to start sending resumes back out.
Ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, welcome to another episode of Metal Gear Mondays, the Games Club style podcast where we cover all things Metal Gear, top to bottom, left to right, inside and out, in pseudo-historical recreation, chronological order. As always, my name is Alessio Summerfield, and I am your host. And with me this week, I have some boys that are eager to continue talking about Peace Walker, and those boys are, in first name alphabetical order, Isaac.
Oh, man. Was not expecting that. Hey. How's it going?
James,
Jimmy, James, Jack, John, James.
Jingleheimer Schmidt, Sam.
Poop de scoop, scoop de whoop, poop de scoop de poop.
Deep poop.
La 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 la. Okay. Yeah. So this week we are continuing our coverage of Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, the PSP, PS3, Xbox 360. Really long Metal Gear prequel to Metal Gear Solid 5. It's wonderful. We love it. Sorry if I sounded exhausted. It's because I am, but not with this game. I will play this game until I die. Yes. So before we get into this week's episode, which is covering part 1 of the story, I just really wanted to put a disclaimer here. Please listen to the Generalities episode that aired before this. We will not be camping out on a ton of the mechanical information. We are strictly going to be talking about characters, plot, and the main ops. So if you're interested about how this game plays, or if you want to know more about the nuances of what we're discussing at length, please go back to the previous episode. Outside of that, I think we should be ready to dig into the main story.
I'm ready to dig in.
Dig in.
Come on, let's go. I'm diving in. I'm going deep.
Did you make that up, Sam?
No,
It's a.
Oh, okay.
That's a song.
I was gonna say that's wonderful. That's
Sam,
quite
I
good.
got you. I'm
quite good.
right
Thank
there
you,
with
Isaac. Thank you, Isaac. There's a lot of Christian shit happening today.
Very, very wholesome Christian game.
Hold on, is that a Jars of Clay song? I don't know. I'm just naming whatever Christian band.
This is a good guess.
Oh no. Okay. 3 Days Grace. Let's do this. So, guys, if you will, let's get in our chopper and let's go to Costa Rica.
Let's go.
Okay. Cue the chopper sound. Oh my god!
There's so much heavy breathing on this
wish
chopper.
I wish that real helicopters would go, and then they go.
The gas for air. Oh god.
All right. Much like our coverage of Metal Gear Solid 4, the way that it broke down the acts, whatever weird act song there was in between those acts, Act 0, the liquid daddy sugar boy son. We are going to be doing the chapter breaks, so we're going to cover this in order. So we're doing prologue, An Army Without Borders. This entire chapter is just sort of the introduction stuff. So it's like a 2-part tutorial. We've got our opening sequences, and then we've got our investigation of the supply facility.
Yeah.
This opens with sort of an in-engine cutscene.
I don't like that. I don't like when games, when there's like a character that's like, press R1 to punch me. It's like, stop.
Yeah.
Don't.
Hey, boss, press R1 to slam me into the
Just
ground.
wanna be like, what do you, press what? What?
Yeah. But in standing with Metal Gear tradition.
tutorial-
It's what they do.
Yeah.
It's what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colonel Campbell's like, hey, Snake, press
Right.
triangle for
Yeah,
ladders.
exactly.
And he's like, thanks.
Exactly.
Colonel.
It works here. In general, though, I thought it was very funny.
I know how to climb a ladder. Jesus Christ, out of my ear.
I also just love that, like, it opens for this tutorial, and it's like basically a guy being like, Snake, I need you to beat the shit out of me.
Yeah. This game literally is a
That's
whole...
my kink.
Yeah, it's a whole beach of boys just being like, hey, Dad, beat us. Beat us bad good.
Beat us bad good.
And it's like, all right.
Oh, jeez.
At the very beginning, there's a cool little reveal.
The tutorial gave me
Whoa.
gave me some trouble
Yeah.
Oh, let's
Tell
camp
us
out on
because it
that.
was trying because there was one thing that was just like press R1 and then press it again to chain your CQC and then
yeah.
it wouldn't let me continue successfully
Interesting.
on that, so I just skipped it.
There's like a slight
So-
pause though, so I think you do the R1, and then as the dude's hitting the ground, it'll then timing, like it'll delay, say like multi hands, press R1.
So
It's super weird.
I admittedly, if you listen to the Generalities episode, played this game very poorly for the first part. I think part of that is because I didn't understand how to play because I skipped the tutorial pretty quickly. When he was like, press X to crouch, and I was like, I get it. I've crouched before. I think I understand what's going on here, and I moved on.
I think, yeah, I think. So the CQC works differently in this game. There's actually one mechanic that we did not talk about in the Generalities, so I'm going to break my rule and talk about it right now.
Oh shit.
In MGS3, the CQC is very complicated and feels like playing a flight simulator. It's like hold R1 at an angle and press in the thumbstick, and don't press the thumbstick too hard because then you'll slit their throat by accident, like literally. And it's like, but make sure you hold, and then it's like if you want to use them as a human shield, you then have to hold like 3 shoulder buttons and a triangle, and it's crazy. Like
Sacrifice your firstborn to Satan.
yeah, you need 2 controllers and a friend. One of you controls Snake's legs, and the other one controls the arms.
I'm like trying to input a cheat code.
It's awful. But anyway, they streamlined.
It's like that episode of Dexter's Lab where all of the family is controlling one arm of the robot and Dexter can't do
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, it's like that, except if you fuck up, you slit somebody's throat.
Oops.
But yeah, it's weird to me. So all the buttons on the
Anyway.
PS2 controller are pressure sensitive. I don't know if anybody
Oh
knows
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like depending on how hard you hold anything, Snake will just end a man's life in cold blood.
That's a big deal. Like trying to play it on the PS3 because it's not pressure sensitive
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
I read a lot about that.
Yeah. The triggers are, but
The
none of
triggers
the
are,
other
but the
buttons
buttons
are. Yeah.
Which is weird.
Anyway, so the CQC in this one is literally just like press R1 to snatch them up, and then like hold a direction to throw them, or press triangle, and they do this really cute Animal Crossing voice. Or if you hold triangle and you're like, Snake will be like, speak, and then they're like, and then like the text will be like, I don't know where my friends are hidden. But it's like this very like it sounds wonderful.
It's fantastic.
I love it. It's like Tom Nook telling you you owe him money or something. It's I don't know. It's very it's just and you're like oh.
It sounds like the helicopter.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, so anyway, so essentially this is just like a CQC tutorial. There's a multi-grab sort of function. It's kind of neat. So depending on the soldier's level in the main game, if you CQC somebody, like some of them, it'll be like twice and they're knocked out. Some of the heftier dudes, it's like 3 or 4 times before they're knocked out. However, I believe if you do the chain CQC, where you like throw them and then it'll trigger, you
it's
throw
an
the other one,
instant
it's
knockout.
instant knockout for each person.
Yeah.
And then you just Fulton all those boys up and yeah.
Unless
It's
you're
the most
dumb
satisfying
like
thing
me.
when you're like,
Oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
Unless you're dumb like James.
I was gonna say
it's like the most satisfying thing. It's Fultoning up a pile of boys.
See, but you could be dumb like me and not think about Fultoning anybody up, and then they just keep getting back up because they're waking up and they're
Oh,
bothering you
no.
again, and then I just shoot them in the head.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's the saddest thing in a Metal Gear game
Yeah,
to
yeah.
shoot somebody in the head
I
while they're
agree.
asleep with like a gun.
Oh yeah.
Or
It just always hurts my heart.
or you could shoot them in the butthole and they go down instantly.
Yeah, so we didn't talk about that. So another
What?
secret. Did you not know this, James?
No.
So there's a secret, and this became pivotal whenever boys start showing up with helmets.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my trank gun, I don't want to pop your helmet off because then you're going to come after me. So you can quick draw McGraw, be like 1, 2, 3, and then they fall asleep, which is fine. Especially when you have like the level 5 Mark
Right.
22. It's like 1, 2, and they fall asleep. However, super secret spoiler, if you have a trank gun or any other gun, if you shoot them, and it has to be like square. If you shoot them square in the asshole, it's a one shot.
Well, what?
Yeah. So and
Yeah.
they'll clench their
Yeah.
cheeks and then they will fall. So it's like if it's a trank and you shoot them square in the asshole, they fall asleep. If it's a gun and you shoot them square in the asshole, they just die.
Oh my god.
They just
It's
die.
very yeah.
I had no idea.
I did.
So if you get shot in the chocolate
It's kinda
starfish,
like
you're
how if
gone.
you- Yeah, it's kind of like how if you soak a tampon in vodka and stuff it up your
Ooh.
ass, you get drunk like immediately.
Ooh.
Yeah, the bullet actually
Yeah.
travels up their digestive tract and then comes out of their head.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, back to what we were talking about. So
Let's talk about buttholes.
yeah, so
now.
doesn't Big Boss roll up on a hog at the beginning of this?
Oh.
Yeah, he does.
I think he does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he rolls up on his hog, which makes an appearance in MGS5.
Oh,
He
shit.
rolls up on his hog. He gets off his hog. For some reason, he's like, I'm cool. And he lights a cigar and then he punches. He's like, I'm Henry Rollins from Black Flag. And then he punches the sign. And the sign's like MSF with a skull. And then the little thing at the bottom is like Militaire Sans Frontier. What's funny is there's a disclaimer at the beginning of the game that says like, this should not be associated with Doctors Without Borders.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he does that. He walks up. All these boys are beating each other up in the rain. It's very moody. It looks cool. I would have preferred to have seen this all in the motion graphic because I think that the
Yeah.
in-game
I agree.
engine makes it look like a bunch of pixel boys.
It's a lot of Pixel boys
Beefy
pixel
pixel
pumping
boy.
each other.
Ew.
Punching, not pumping.
Pixel
Yikes.
pumping. Yuck. Anyway, so you do this little tutorial. This tutorial is technically not a main op at all, I don't think. I guess it's part of this sort of opening sequence, but there's more to it. So what we do is after this tutorial, we were taken into a cutscene where Miller, Kazuhira Miller, is that his name changes so fucking much. Can we talk about that?
He's a big boy baller. Is what
His
he is.
his name. He had apparently he had a Japanese last name, but then when he found out about his father, he took his father's last name, and his dad's name was Miller.
So let's talk about
And then
this
I think
for a second.
yeah.
So his full name is in this game and in Phantom Pain, he is Kazuhira Miller, but he's also known as McDonald Benedict Miller, and he's
I think that
also
was a pseudonym.
he's also known as Master Miller. And based on the wiki, at some point he's referred to as Hellmaster.
Hell yeah.
They gave him the name Hellmaster when he was working for Foxhound.
Oh, that's right.
It's dope as fuck.
Sick. But yeah, so our boy Kazuhira Miller, which you may not. I know for some people they're like who's Kaz? And I think there's a little bit like if you're coming into this straight from like an MGS1 background, you're not gonna know who the fuck Kazuhira is, but Miller should tip you off. But yeah, he's kind of the businessman portion of MSF.
Get shit done.
He's really cool. His background story is pretty upsetting, and we'll kind of talk about it as things kind of continue because you get some cassette tapes, and he kind of talks about his history. There's a really, really good YouTube video that talks about how like Master Miller is one of the most tragic characters in Metal Gear, which is really upsetting. But yeah, so Kaz is there. He's at the essentially MSF's entire outfit is this little like beach house. And so Big Boss enters. Kazuhiro is there. He's like, hey, I set up a meeting, and I want you to talk to these people. And essentially there is a professor from a local school who says that he is a professor of peace. I did not realize that you could get a bachelor's of fine arts in peace.
You sure can.
You can get an undergrad
that's
in
good.
peace. But his name is Professor Galvez, or at least that's what we were made to believe at the beginning of the game.
Yes.
And he says that he's there with one of his students, which doesn't make any sense. Again, he's a college professor, but he's traveling with a high school student.
She's a genius, so she just skipped high school.
That's true.
Yep.
But she is a young girl named Paz.
Paz Ortega Andrade.
Yeah. And later we're given her real name, which is Goofy, but yes, so that is her name. Right off the bat, and I know some people might roll their eyes like they did in the last episode, but in this episode, I want to talk about it again. Right off the bat, we get our first sort of interactive situation,
Yeah, and it's weird.
and it's really
It's
uncomfortable,
super fucking weird.
and it's right off the bat. So effectively, within the cutscene, when Paz is introduced, you are prompted in the top left. It says zoom using the D-pad left, D-pad right, and wiggle the controller around using your analog stick or whatever, and you can kind of see more of the cutscene. And what you can do is it just sort of center frame focuses on Paz, and if you zoom in, you will zoom through her raincoat and see her school uniform, which,
Yep.
okay, that's fine. And then if you zoom in more, you will zoom through her school uniform and see her in her underwear.
Yeah, which I thought the implication of like doing this at first was like them trying to illustrate like, oh, you'll see wounds on her because she's been tortured and shit. But then they were like, no wounds, and I was like, oh, this is just a girl in her underwear.
Yeah, who
And-
at,
and
the,
like-
at this point we were told as an audience is a 16-year-old.
Exactly, right. But then I also wonder, like, is that a masterful bit of foreshadowing? That you have that interaction right away and you're told like you should see wounds on her and then you don't see wounds.
Oh, that's true.
No, you don't.
No.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Look at James digging deeper
Look at
into
that.
the real
Yeah.
weird pervy thing.
Look at that.
Mayor, I'm
Look at,
trying-
look at James trying real hard to excuse some womanizing. But yeah, it's a little uncomfortable.
It is. It's
No matter
it's very
what,
weird.
it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're introduced to them. Essentially, the professor and Paz illustrate that there's something that they need Big Boss to hear. They've heard of what MSF does. There's some really cool kind of historical context here, which is like that Costa Rica doesn't have a standing army in the 70s.
Oh.
They've effectively abolished having armed forces. And Professor Galvez and Paz are saying, we need to hire you guys because we've got a situation. And Paz had a good friend of hers disappear, and they found a cassette tape that the friend had recorded accidentally. And the cassette tape was recorded while she was trying to find birds, I believe. She's trying to record bird songs. And it was recorded in these ruins, and they heard two women talking. And they think that one of the voices would be really familiar for Snake, and so they play it, and it's the voice of the boss, who we killed, allegedly, at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3. And obviously, since this game takes place like roughly a decade after MGS3, Snake is still pretty shook up about it. He clearly is very upset. He killed his essentially own mother, so it's really upsetting for him. So he hears this tape. He gets really emotional. He kind of actually distances himself. So he kind of pushes them away. And then in a weird way, there's like a break in the cutscene.
Yep.
So it's like we leave and don't we do the rest of the mission or something? There's something weird that happens. There's like a main menu or something. Something happens in between.
Oh yeah.
Because they mentioned that I think they mentioned that they have this like off-site plant that they're willing to like give as payment.
Yeah, I think you get the first look at the plant.
Yeah, so I think you can get your first look at the plant, and then whenever you enter the menu again to
Yeah.
trigger the rest of the mission,
Right.
you see Snake and Miller in their little house, and Snake looks outside, and Paz and the professor are refusing to leave, and they're standing in the rain, looking creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like standing in the rain, staring at the beach house, real weird.
Yeah, so Snake invites them back in or whatever, and Snake, the entire cutscene, by the way, he's like struggling to light a cigar, and then Galvez, who has this red metal hand, which is very similar to a prosthetic red metal hand that we will see in MGS5. Professor Galvez says, I used to be a heavy smoker when they gave me this prosthetic, and one of his fingers opens up and becomes a lighter. And Snake's like, oh, thank you. And so they sit down and they start talking logistics. And essentially, they say that they need somebody to try and find Paz's friend and try and figure out what these Americans, La CIA, the CIA, are doing in Costa Rica because they have way more firepower than they need to. And they just want somebody to check on them. And so after battling with the whole, like, well, we don't want to get involved because we don't deal with international scenarios. We're just kind of some mercenaries. Leave us the fuck alone. Kazuhira and Snake agree so that they can get this new base of operations, which is where the entire main menu, as mentioned in the generalities, takes place. Mother base.
It's because the whole thing was like they were like he was talking to them and they were when they were waiting outside all creepy. Snake was like he seems like he probably works for the KGB.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too. Yeah, they're like that. Snake just right off the bat's like that motherfucker's KGB is hell.
Yeah, because he even says to him, he's like, let's cut to the chase. I know what you are.
Yeah, when they come back in, like he says I can't remember what he says, but he says something, and then Galvez is like, okay, let's do this then. And so he tells them essentially the plan is that they want to establish a stronghold in Central America, and he was ordered to have MSF inspect like what's going on, what the CIA is doing, so that they could take over Costa Rica essentially and have a stronghold in South America for the Cold War.
Yeah.
And what really convinces Big Boss to do this is that he threatens to burn the tape of the boss with his lighter hand, and Big Boss grabs the tape and says that he's going to do it for Paz. And for peace.
And I also want to say, I believe, and I want to double check this real quick. So I believe that like Paz obviously means peace in Spanish, but I believe Kazuhira also means peace in Japanese.
It does, and Miller says that. He's like, oh, your name's the same as mine.
Yeah, which I think was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so something about that. I'm not seeing it when I'm Googling it. I'm not seeing that that's accurate. So that might be just some Metal Gear hand wavy bullshit. Who knows? Anyway, but yeah, so essentially we embark, so we kind of jump ahead in time a little bit from there to talk about, to go into sort of our first actual main mission, which is investigating the supply facility where the CIA was last seen. And so we are kind of like, we started on this beach, which is the beach from the Paz date. It's also the beach where later on we can find a Monster Hunter character that takes us on a boat. But it's this little beach coast. You can kind of get to learn how to use your guns, and you can shoot coconuts out of trees. You have to throw a grenade at a door to open it up, which is real weird. Like, hey, go infiltrate, be stealthy, but use a grenade to blow up a door. And so you go in, you enter the space, and from there you kind of do a little snooping and searching around. And inadvertently, if I remember correctly, Snake discovers that there's a guy manning this like radio kind of outpost, and the guy has all these little plastic name badges, and Snake calls Miller and says like, dude, they've got these radiation detecting name badges, like that can only mean one thing. And then he looks at some additional information, and he goes, oh my fucking god, like they're bringing nukes to Costa Rica. And if there's one thing that we know about all snakes, Solid Snake, Naked Snake, whatever, they hate nukes. In general, Metal Gear is a series that is very anti-nuclear war. And so Snake immediately is way more invested than just, oh shit, I need to find the boss. If this is true, now all of a sudden he's like, we need to stop this because I hate nuclear weapons. And in this moment, we also see like a sort of like an unmanned giant technological drone spider flying through the air,
floating around.
Do you guys want to talk about the technology in this game for a second? Because I think before this, in 1964, with Operation Snake Eater, I think they did a good job of displaying what 60s tech could be with a little bit of a pulpy push. Peace Walker and Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain don't give a fuck about being historically accurate.
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah, it's like you got these crazy advanced technology drones, and then juxtaposed with this fancy little cassette player that's completely new to this world's like that's interesting.
Yeah, like we're impressed by this Walkman, but we're not going to talk about all these robots that
Right.
Snake apparently looks at. He just frequently stares at with no like
Emotion.
anything,
Yeah. He's like, no, this makes sense.
with no
This is-"
emotion. Yeah,
But he's fucking baffled by that Walkman.
so weird.
Yeah. Well, the same thing. The same thing happens to like an immense degree in 5, because like the Metal Gear in 5 like runs around on 2 feet and has a sword made of fire and can like shoot like earthquake beams.
Yep.
And everyone's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's the 80s."
But
it's
then
fine."
here we are in 2005, and we have this one Metal Gear Rex that can't do any of that.
Yeah. So it's really funny.
it's weird.
In the Retronauts episode on Metal Gear Solid 3 that I referenced on the Generalities episode, one of the guests talks about asking Yoji Shinkawa during a panel, "Hey, like, I love your design work. How do you go into these games designing for the era in mind?" And Yoji Shinkawa said, "I don't care about that. I just designed what I wanted to design." So that's pretty great. But anyway, yeah. So effectively, there's this like giant drone that's singing a song with like red glowing shit that flies by.
It's a good song.
And Snake finds some pictures of some renegade like freedom fighters on a billboard or a little push board.
I want to say this like sincerely for once. Could you cue that here? The song?
Oh yeah, for sure. The little la la la. Yeah.
I do like that song.
That's quite good. It becomes really creepy during the boss fights. But yeah, so that situation, we get kicked back to sort of our main menu, and again, after every one of these missions, we're gonna get kicked back to the main menu. We're gonna unlock things. We can kind of touch on what the rewards are just kind of briefly. So this first main op, whenever you finish it, you can only do it as Snake. It's like super easy, simple difficulty. You unlock Mother Base. Like that's just what you unlock. And the rewards that you get the M1C design, you get smoke grenades, and you get the love box, which is found in the stage. You also unlock the jungle fatigues, which is pretty simple. But yeah, so this begins the proper chapter 1 for the game. It's funny to me that this game has a prologue and 5 chapters, and yet Metal Gear Solid 5 has 2 chapters for the whole game.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's 2 chapters and a cut third chapter that never got in.
Yeah.
So we get chapter 1, a country without an army, which is funny because we have an army without a country.
Works out.
So effectively the mission here, and Miller tells us this, and again, if you guys have any notes or if anybody's got any information, there are in between missions these quick little codec calls. They're pretty short, and we'll note sort of things of merit as we come across them. But effectively, Miller says, "Hey, we should probably contact the Sandinista commandant, who's essentially, to oversimplify, the Sandinistas are sort of like a freedom fighter movement, kind of akin to like the IRA, and some of these sort of like guerrilla, kind of local, domestic." To use a post 9/11 term, domestic terrorist force,
Right.
that's sort of like fighting for independence, especially when Costa Rica, I think at this time, this is how Peace Walker got named Peace Walker, and it's mentioned in the game. I believe an American sort of ambassador was sent, something Walker, was sent to Costa Rica, and he abused his power, and instead of just being sort of like an ambassador for the United States, he sort of became like a weird dictator mayor for the country. I don't know how much of that is based on reality. And so the name of the big robot being Peace Walker is kind of like a fuck you to the Costa Ricans a little bit. But the Sandinistas are very specifically an anti-U.S. Freedom force that is being paid off by the KGB and being supplied with weapons and resources, because that's what happened during the Cold War. Not to get hyper-political one way or the other, but the Cold War, for anybody who maybe is too young to remember or maybe isn't brushed up on their history, was effectively a series of proxy battles where the Russian government was supplying weapons to sort of guerrilla domestic freedom fighters in the Middle East and in Latin America, and the United States was doing the same thing, and we were supplying like weapons and resources, and everybody was supplying drugs and all this shit to these little bands of local people to fight our wars for us. And so this is kind of where this game positions itself, is Snake becoming friends with these rebels and giving them a place. And so anyway, the point is we have to contact the Commandante, who's sort of the overseer, kind of like commander. I think it's literally what it translates to, is commander of this Sandinista group. And this is kind of neat. I actually like this area a lot, this little like boathouse map. A lot of the extra ops take place here, so I like it a lot. It's sort of these swampy jungles. It's weird how South America looks so similar to Russia as depicted in MGS3.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys think they kind of fudged the details on purpose?
Definitely one way or the other. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's jungly for
so.
sure, but like I think like the Selino-Yarsk like weird Russia, it looked nothing like Russia either.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we go through here. You can actually, so from this point forward, and we didn't really talk about it in generalities a lot. From this point forward, there are 2 sets of different types of maximum players that are allowed on story missions. So this first, like a lot of the story missions only require, you can have 1 to 2 players maximum. So Sam and I actually played a couple missions like this where you could have 2 people take on story missions together, which is neat. So no matter what, in your game, you are who you pick. And your partner, no matter what, even if they're Snake in their game, they just look like sort of like an MSF soldier in your game. And so you can have 2 players in the story missions, but the boss missions you can have 4 players. And you can just go through the whole thing with 2 people. And me and Sam were like speed running the fuck out of it because we'd each be like tranking people,
Right.
and so like we just sweep up.
It was really, we were just like, all right, this boy's going to sleep. Okay, I'll hold up this boy. It's like, okay, I'm gonna beat this boy.
Yep.
All
Oh,
right,
and
now we're
the
Fultoning
hold up
boys.
system's back too. You can actually Fulton people while they've got their hands over their head and they're held up on the ground.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So if you get close to people, if you pull your gun out, Snake will say freeze, and they go ugh, and they just like lay down on the ground. But yeah, so yeah, Sam would be holding people up. I'm shooting buttholes. We're shit talking. It's great. But yeah, so you find these Sandinistas. They're holed up in this little boathouse. Effectively, they tell you that their Commandante was killed. And they're kind of like, I want to pose this question to you guys. Did they seem like they were being held captive in this boathouse? Or did they seem like they were huddling and hiding?
It seemed like they were hiding,
Okay.
but I guess like
it seemed like they were hiding from the
yeah,
soldiers.
it could be that they were.
Like shunted there or
Yeah.
something. But yeah, so it's essentially a bunch of these like Sandinista troops, and then you've got Amanda and Chico. It's weird to me that her name's Amanda, but is that like a typical like Amanda or
Yeah.
something? Like would that be like a typical Spanish name?
Yeah.
So you've got Amanda, and you've got Chico and all these guys. Chico is like very young. I believe he's like 14,
He's a punk.
15. He's a punk little bitch. And they're all wearing like these little yellow
Dang.
flourishes. So
Yep.
Chico's got this like little yellow bandana, and I think Amanda has one too. And these
And
little
I
yellow
like the art
armbands.
style because it's like black and white, and the only color is the yellow little
Yeah.
bits.
Yeah, and same with the opening cutscene.
thought
The
that
only
was
color was
cool.
like Galvez's red hand,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
or Paz's red
Yeah.
raincoat.
Yeah. The colors that they choose to use all really stand out and like speak a lot to what's going
Well,
on.
it's striking. It draws your eye and it makes you focus on like the points that they want you to focus on because it just seems like it's out there and it's more important.
And yeah, so during this point, if I remember correctly, so essentially what happens is everybody's kind of getting their bearings straight. Amanda's like, "Do you have any cigarettes?" And Snake's like, "I don't. Here's a cigar. It's Cuban." She's like, "Okay." Chico tries to steal some smokes, and they're like, "Fuck off, little kid." And Amanda kind of tells you like, "My father is dead." Snake's like, "So you're the new kind of head of the group." And Amanda's like, "Well, nobody really considers me that. They still just kind of look at me like I'm my father's daughter." And then right on cue, everyone's like, "Hey, Amanda," instead of like Commandante. And there's going to be a little bit of an arc about like Amanda getting her confidence, which is cool. But Chico's just being a little punk. And then the drones show up, and the drones one of them picks up Chico.
Yep.
And Amanda freaks out and is trying to shoot it. And Snake's like, "Stop. If he falls, he's going to die." And then all the drones fly away. I believe there's some interactivity here, right?
Yeah, you're like shooting rockets and shit at the
At the
the
baby
drones, the baby drones, and yeah, you're blowing shit up.
Yeah. And me and Isaac tested this out. So a lot of the QTEs, unless it's like pivotal, and it'll do like the little rewind
Right.
effect, and you can start over. You can fuck up on a lot of these, or you can shoot the other thing instead of the thing you're supposed to shoot, and it'll still kind of pan out the way that it's supposed to. But Amanda gets really bummed out, and she's like, fuck, I need to go save my brother, blah, blah, blah. And so she runs after him. And so then that kind of leads you to your next mission, which is to pursue Amanda. The unlocks from this mission is the M1911, which I think is a machine gun, if I remember correctly, and then the Law, which is a little portable rocket launcher. Which, pro tip, rank that shit up because that thing reloads quicker than any other rocket, and it's awesome for boss fights. But yeah, so that leads us sort of into our next mission. What did you guys think of these sort of maps as we were going along? Did you guys enjoy the way that they were kind of broken up by these like regional maps, and then the sort of each room had its own map? Was everything like easy to kind of telegraph and enjoy?
So this was the point in my playthrough where I was still playing it really, really poorly. So like I was like getting seen and I was shooting people. So like every time I would get to a part where you're like going into the next little area, an enemy would immediately appear and just shoot me in the head. So that sucked. But I did like how it was like broken up. There were like moments of like brief reprieve.
Did you guys, I really don't mean to say this and sound like I'm some sort of like MLG, like 360 no scope, like game player. I hardly ever got red alerts. Do the red alerts carry over when you go from room to room?
They do.
Okay.
They do. And it seemed like, and maybe I'm wrong and I just wasn't killing enough, but it seems like when you're on red alert, the enemies just keep respawning until you get it down.
After a while, they stop. There was one mission where I just like couldn't do anything but fuck up, and I wound up restarting it. Eventually, they stopped coming.
Nice. Yeah, I know anytime that I would get like a green alert, which would happen from time to time, especially whenever I couldn't trank people in one shot as they get helmets as the game kind of progresses. Effectively, when I would get the green alert and they would call for backup, I know they'd send like one or two dudes to come check on shit.
Yeah.
And it was always easy to just like sweep those boys up. They loosely bring in the sort of MGS2. So in Metal Gear Solid 2, if somebody radio in for help, or if you killed the guy with the radio, they would just automatically send a new group out to check on him.
Right.
In this game, there's not like a visible radio, but if somebody's in the middle of talking on the radio and you put them to sleep, they'll send guys out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, Mission 03, Main Op 03, which is pursue Amanda. So we have to go hunt down Amanda because Snake needs more information from her. If I remember correctly, real quick, just because this comes up as like a recurring thing, the Mission 2, when Amanda asks who Snake is, he legit pulls out like his little camera, and he's like, "I'm a photographer." Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Aren't you like a little armed to the teeth to be a photographer?" And he's like, "I'm a war photographer." And they're like, "Okay."
Quit busting my balls.
Yeah,
I'm a war photographer.
This will come up a bunch. I've photographed wars, you know, in true like Frank West. But yeah, Snake's a really bad liar. Is what I discovered in this game. But yeah, so pursue Amanda again. Max players 2. We're still pretty low difficulty here. Effectively. And I'm so this is the first mission I believe that has these in them. I do want to camp out on this real quick for a second. So Mission 03 is the first time that we were introduced to POWs.
Yeah.
So hidden throughout the levels, and later on, I think they're not just POWs, but they're like maintenance crew. Is like how they're dressed.
Yeah.
But hidden throughout some of the levels, there will be POWs in like yellow jumpsuits that are bound and tied up in corners of rooms or like hidden in weird places. And you can kind of hear them as you go. You'll hear like struggling sounds. You're like, ooh, and you're like, what's that? But they are staff with usually, I'd say more often than not, they have higher stats than the soldiers.
Yeah.
And you can Fulton them, and whenever you do, they're like, woohoo! Like they just like they're way too crunk. And the creepy part, just to add even more creepy factor, if it's a woman, which there are very few of in this game, if it is a female POW, Miller will like Kodak you.
Yeah, he's like, nice.
And he'll just be like, oh yeah. And you're like, ew.
It's really fucked up. Come on, Miller.
Yeah. I almost said Miller will slack you. Yeah, Miller slacks you. And he's like, nice. But yeah, so that's a thing. But anyway, in this area, we go to we go to this enemy base and we're trying to hunt down some information, and effectively we don't rescue Chico yet, but we encounter Amanda. Amanda gets grabbed by one of the drones.
Yep.
And she's in midair, and you can opt to either shoot her drone or shoot the big red drone.
Did you shoot her drone?
So the first time I shot her drone, and she
Yeah.
just falls,
Okay.
and she hurts herself a little
Yeah.
bit, but she's good.
I shot the big drone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, well, fuck this. Like, I'd rather die by my own hand than die by this. And
Yeah,
she just
and then she
shoots
like,
it. Yeah.
It's dope.
yeah, it's really
pretty cool.
like badass.
But she falls and she hurts. She
Either
falls and
way,
hurts
she falls
herself.
and hurts herself.
Yeah, and so we're presented with another one of those like zoom in to creepy look at people, but
Yeah.
this one has a point. So when you zoom in, you can see all
Yeah,
the
this
points
one
that her
you can,
bones
like-
are broken.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like pervy. It's just like, oh, look at this crazy shit.
I mean, it's a little pervy because there's 3 stages. So there's like she's got pants on, she's in her underwear,
Yeah.
and then there's bones.
Right.
I think if they wanted to, they could have just done bones.
Probably just skip the bones.
Please, all bones.
It's all bones.
The problem though is like, can we just talk about this for a second? Why the fuck can snakes see through people's skin?
Yeah, that's never really like acknowledged.
Yeah, like he doesn't have.
He's got X-ray vision. He's got them good glasses.
He's not. He's not Magic Boys.
He's got the X-ray specs from the box of cereal.
Yeah. This begins another comedic punchline that is one of my favorite in the game, where Amanda's talking to him and Snake just like says like, "Oh hey, hang on to this for a second," and she's like, "What?" And then she gets Fultoned. And then she'll come on during the sort of interstitial codex, and she's like, "Why did you send me in the air without saying anything?" And Snake's like, "Sorry, girl." And that's like he does that a lot. But yeah, essentially, Amanda has this all like, "Woe is me." Chico's gonna spill the greasy beans. Would you please kill my brother if he
Yep.
if he talks shit? And Snake's like, I can't promise you that. Even though, let's jump ahead, and Snake's like promising to kill kids in the beginning of Ground Zeroes if they spill them greasy beans.
He knows.
But yeah, so Snake's like, I'm not going to kill your brother, but you should come and bring your men and come help me out. And so Amanda joins you. Again, you can kind of read her bio, and now you can get her mission briefing tapes, and you can also look at her model in the model viewer.
Wiggle her boobs around.
Yeah, wiggle his booms around. Yeah, Amanda's pretty cool.
What did you say?
What?
Wiggle his booms?
I said
booms?
I
You just said wiggle
booms.
his booms.
Sorry, I slurred. The kind of the shitty part is like I would argue that like after this point and probably like a couple missions through, Amanda kind of gets shunted to the
yeah.
background.
Yeah, she's like way a background character.
Which
and like they
sucks.
set her up like she's gonna be pretty like pivotal throughout.
Yeah.
Like they really do shun her back.
Yeah, she's cool though.
She's dope.
Anyway, this mission gives you stun grenade specs, M10 design specs, twin barrel shotgun design specs with holy hot damn if you find them in the stage. I ranked that shit up pretty high, and me and Sam were doing some co-op boss battles. That thing wrecks shop, y'all.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You get the Tiger Stripe uniform if you find it, and then you get the Tiger Stripe naked uniform, which is just like the shirtless Tiger Stripe. But yeah, so that's that mission. And then we are, and I want to camp out here for a second because I think this might be one of the, as much as I adore this game, and yeah, spoilers for end of game discussion, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker might be one of my favorite games, like period. I love this game. I think one of the biggest missteps of this game is the way that it handles these armored vehicle battles and the way that it handles boss battles in
God.
general.
Yeah.
So that's mission 004 for the main op. It is essentially what stands between you and rescuing Chico is this military base, and it's LAV Type G. So there are a couple different vehicle battles. The way that they do this is there'll be these LAV types, which are kind of these transports with gun turrets.
Yeah.
Then there's tanks, and then there's helicopters. And those are kind of these 3 mini boss styles. But then outside of that, you've got these huge AI robot battles that are kind of the main bosses. It dawned on me, there are no human boss fights
it's
in
weird.
this game.
Mhm.
How did you guys feel about that? In a series where the weird, over-the-top anime comic book character boss battles are everything, and that's what it's known for, this game doesn't do any of that.
Yeah. I felt like it was weird.
I
Like,
missed it.
I definitely wanted, like, having gone through MGS3, like, I wanted more personality in the boss fights. And, like, I don't know. I missed it.
It was weird that it wasn't as weird. Does that make sense?
I feel you on that. Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, like you said. Now that you mention it, it is kind of weird because all the other boss fights in the other games are against people. Huh.
Yeah, other
But-
than the tank battle and
other
the
than-
helicopter battle
Yeah.
stuff in MGS 1 and 2.
Yeah, I never really thought about that.
Yeah, like
Huh.
there are vehicle battles peppered into the other games for flavor, but it's not the primary focus. And it's just so weird. And I think it would have been easier to ignore if the boss battles in this game, I think, is my one like big gripe about the game is
I would
that
agree.
they're clearly geared towards playing with people, which is awesome. But they don't scale. Like you have games like Borderlands, where you could play
you say
Borderlands by
Borderland?
your
Borderland.
Borderland.
Borderlands.
Borderland.
Just the border.
Borderlands.
You have
Singular.
games like Borderlands, which you can totally play by yourself if you wanted to. But if you get and it works out fine and you can do it by yourself and it's it's a challenge, but it's not like super difficult. And then if you get bros in, it scales up in difficulty. This game doesn't scale in difficulty. It's just what you get. So there are some like I could not like beat later on the game's called Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. There's a tank called Peace Walker and you fight Peace Walker, of course.
Yeah,
So-
Peace Walker is technically not a Metal Gear, right? Nobody ever refers
Well,
to it as Metal Gear. Peace Walker.
Nobody refers to it as Metal Gear, no.
Okay.
Um,
I'm gonna look that up. Keep talking.
it's a spiritual Metal Gear. It's a spiritual Metal Gear, like
It's
the
like Shagohod.
Yeah. But you obviously fight this Peace Walker thing, and there's just a battle with that thing that I could just not beat by myself. I wasn't able to do it until me and Alessio played it together. So it's just there are certain points where if if you're under leveled or you don't have like somebody to help you like I did, like there are points of this game where you possibly could gate yourself and just never be able to get past it. And that's I think it's shortcoming. It's one shortcoming because like for the most part, like for the rest of it, I love this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I found that I didn't have a ton of difficulty with the bosses this playthrough, but I think it's just because I've beaten the game before. A lot of the boss fights in this game literally, and we'll talk about specifically these vehicle attack type things, but the boss fights in general are essentially this war of attrition of heavy machine gun, rockets, supply marker, and just run out of ammo on both weapons, throw a supply marker, restock, run
Yeah.
out of ammo on both weapons, throw a supply marker, restock, and like Dark Souls roll dodge.
Yeah. Are there like I know with the first the Lav type G battle, there's like a stealth way to do it. Is that
Yeah,
present in
so-
like every one? Because
so
I
that's what I was
didn't
gonna
do it
say.
ever again.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is too much time.
that's what I was gonna say about the vehicle battle. So there are a couple different ways to do it. There's two different ways to do it. I guess there's three different ways to do it. So there is in the background some math happening where the game won't tell you how many dudes there are, but every
Right.
armored vehicle battle has like a set number of dudes that they will send at you. If you do it the stealth way, I can't remember if it's less dudes, but you can trank them and Fulton them, and they'll just send a couple groups of guys.
Yeah.
And if you keep Fultoning them and the vehicle never notices you, the guy driving the vehicle, who's for some reason referred to as the commander, I don't know why the commander is in this vehicle, he'll poke his head out and be like, where the fuck is everybody?
Yeah.
And then you can trank him and take the vehicle at full health.
Yep.
The other way to do it is if you just kill everybody, you can still kill all of the people that come,
Yeah.
and then eventually the commander will stick his head out, and you can just trank him.
Yeah.
But I think even though you kill everybody, you still have to damage the vehicle
Right,
enough
right.
to get him
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, so the way it worked for me,
I-
I started to do like the stealth way, and like I was like training people and folding them out, and I was like, it's taking too much time. I blew up one of like the little engines on it, and then that made the guy pop out because
Gotcha.
the tank just stops, and I shot him, and like I think I had like 68% health when it came back to
Yeah.
Mother Base.
The third way that you can do it is you can literally just destroy the vehicle.
Yeah.
Like if you have enough firepower and you've got your shit ranked up enough, especially on these lower ones, like if you do this like main op 004 with the armored vehicle, you can legit rank up your rockets and just like blow this fucker away
Yeah.
and just speed run it.
Yeah.
Um,
I just did the kill way for those bosses because like I couldn't like all the guys were so heavily armored, and at that point in the game, like your trank gun isn't enough to get them down fast enough until for the other ones to like not notice. It just seemed too difficult to go through it stealthy.
Yeah, and they remedied this in Metal Gear Solid 5 because again, you can sneak up to the tank and just Fulton the whole fucking thing. In 5, if a soldier notices a Fulton balloon, they will shoot it and pop it. In this game, like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then also in 5, you can't Fulton people from interiors. You have to carry them outside. In this, you can Fulton people from anywhere.
Right.
But I would argue that sort of the post game, okay, you finished everything and have researched the shit out of everything. The way that I've seen most people talk about farming vehicles, and particularly, so here's the catch-22 to what you just said, Sam. The thing that sucks about killing everybody, and that's kind of what I started to do too, especially when they get so repetitive in the extra ops. The best rank soldiers are in the detail guarding these vehicles. So if you're trying to Fulton like S rank and A rank soldiers, like it's these guys.
Yeah.
And so it sucks because you have to like do a ton of shit to get them. But apparently the pro tip way to do it is once you can research the bandana, which gives you infinite ammo, which is like a staple of the series. Once you get the bandana and you get smoke grenades and you get the Fulton rocket launcher, you can hide yourself in smoke constantly and just Fulton the fuck out of everybody before they come after you. And you can just like get them all in one big sweep and then just like fuck the vehicle up. And apparently that's the way to do it.
Oh.
But
That feels like it takes like a long time to do though.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get to that point. But anyway, so yeah, that's this boss battle. This is the first that you can kind of tackle with up to 4 people. I would say that these are kind of geared for that. Because if you imagine it, if you have 4 people all stealthing, like this shit will blow through in a breeze.
Totally. Even if you have 4 people just shooting it, like it's gonna go way faster than one person shooting it.
Totally.
I was like, I know, like the first time I encountered it, I was like, I feel like I'm doing something wrong because my bullets ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
And I was.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's this. The rewards you get for this, you get the recipe for tortilla chips and a canned soft drink. The tortilla chips are like a low-level health item, which I think you have to pop like 3 or 4 to get your health back up to max. And I think the soft drink...
I love the idea of Snake just hanging out on the battlefield munching up tortilla chips.
Yeah.
The least stealthy food.
I love the idea of Snake just specifically having Miller cook the tortilla chips for him. I think Miller's got a pretty high mess hall ranking. I think I always kept Miller in the mess hall.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, if I remember correctly. I think he's got a really high mess hall and a really high intel, and I think I just threw him in the mess hall.
Hell yeah.
Also, the canned soft drink, I think it replenishes your psyche, which replaces the stamina in this game.
Right.
And I can't remember what reduces your psyche. I think taking hits and using heavy weapons will slowly reduce it.
Interesting.
But certain types of armor that you wear will slowly replenish it back. Anyway, cool. So that's mission 4. Again, this gets repeated fucking ad infinitum in the extra ops. Like, I would argue that these are my least favorite extra ops to do. But it's cool because you can steal the vehicles and build out your army.
Right.
Mission 5 is rescuing Chico. So this is actually kind of fun. If I remember correctly, this is the one with the door knocking.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
This is pretty good. So this is another 2-player mission. It's 2 skulls, so the difficulty is kind of ratcheting up at this point. Effectively, you're in this cool little like small town map, and they tell you in the cutscene that when the CIA moved in, for some reason they kind of like put martial law in place with some of the residents, and they said that we're going to take over your homes and replace some of your doors with these like special blue doors that have like open windows that you can look into or something. It seems like a very convoluted way to just say like
look for the blue doors.
Inside.
Yeah, which like
just put a window.
I think I must have missed that because I had to keep calling the codec until Miller was finally like, look at the blue doors. And I was like, thanks, Miller.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
But yeah, so you can go check on these blue doors, and some of them are interesting. So some of them, it's like you'll hear people sleeping. One of them's like a guy crying for his mom. One of them is like kind of sounds like a dude's masturbating, and Snake like freaks out and like walks away.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Oh, yeah, he has like a
Oh, yeah. And then eventually one of the doors is Chico, who's like hiding and crying. Let's talk about this cutscene a little bit.
It's the best cutscene of all
Hiding
time.
and crying like a little bitch boy.
Yeah, James, tell us about this cutscene.
Well, he's just like Snake is just so fucking harsh with this guy. Like Chico's like distraught, and he's like, just put me out of my misery. And Snake's like, okay. Then just shoots next to him, and he's like, I just wasted a bullet. Don't waste your life.
Yeah.
And Chico still doesn't get it.
Yeah, because Chico's a
Yeah.
little baby boy.
It just kills me how back and forth Snake goes from being like, I want to be nice to this kid, but also I'll fucking scare you.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, I just expected him at the end to be like,
It's
don't do drugs.
It's like the snake scared, the snake scared straight program.
Yeah, exactly.
But the reason why Chico's sad is because Chico essentially gave up the location of his friends to the CIA. And Chico talks
His
about how,
compas.
Chico talks about how him and Amanda would get into arguments, and he would go camping to kind of like relieve stress, and like would disappear. And effectively, he says that he discovered that Amanda and the Sandinistas were selling drugs supplied to them by the KGB to pay for their freedom fighting. And Chico thought that it was disgusting and despicable, and so he tried to burn down their drug operations like several times. And so when Chico, on one of his little camping adventures, was sulking, he saw through the fog what he calls the Basilisco, which is a basilisk, or the king of snakes, which is the code name for Peace Walker. So it's this giant bipedal walking machine, and we don't know much about it, but Snake's just like, like, that's not real. But Chico, which we've come to discover, is a conspiracy theorist, and he's
Yep.
like, giant monsters are real. Let's talk about them.
Yep. Snake's also Snake's very into reminding Chico that he shouldn't smoke while he's this young.
Yeah, a lot.
I think he says it like 3 or 4 times in this cutscene alone. He's like, "Yeah, promise me not to smoke till you're older."
Yeah.
Chico's like, "Whatever."
Yeah.
Well, they have to make sure it's a T-rated game. So they have to make sure all the kids don't smoke.
Yeah, so Snake's actually talking to the players.
Yeah.
He's not talking to Chico.
Yeah.
But yeah, so effectively, Chico tells him, "Hey, this is where they're moving all this equipment and stuff. Like they're going up through this train that then unloads, and then once it unloads, it goes onto trucks, and the trucks go through this tunnel, and then we never know what happens and where they come out on the other side of this tunnel." So Snake goes, "Cool, I'm gonna go check it out." And then he goes, "Hey kid, hold this," and Chico's like, "What's this?" And then, ah!
Which is his favorite thing to do,
I
apparently.
love it.
I love it. Yeah, Snake's like, "I don't give a shit if you snap your neck. Hold this." But we get the C4, we get the supply support markers, which, holy shit, I guess we didn't have them for the Love type.
Nope.
That's a nightmare.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's that one. Jungle Train. Let's talk about the Jungle Train. Pursue the Jungle Train. Mission 6. This one's kind of easy. I don't know if there's too terribly much to talk about. So essentially, you're kind of going through this area. And again, a lot of these places it's the kind of game where, like, when you first play a GTA, you feel really lost. But
Yeah.
as you play this game, you start to kind of memorize the maps.
Yep.
And then they kind of feel like home. That's how this game kind of works. So it's hard to kind of put into words. But these maps kind of become very familiar the more you play them. This, you just kind of go through some military bases. And then you're just kind of tracking down the nuclear shipment. And I think that's about it. I don't know if there's anything crazy that happens here.
No,
You get the M60 design specs and the Sonic Eye. Did anybody use the Sonic Eye?
I did not.
Nope.
So what it does is it puts a little radar in the top right, and it shows you like little spikes coming from where sound is being generated.
Oh, yeah.
So whenever you're sneaking around and stuff, so spoiler alert, I would play late at night sometimes while my wife was asleep. And unlike with the PS4 where I can plug my headphones into the controller to hear,
Yeah.
I can't do that with the PS3.
Right.
So I would have to just turn it down all the way.
And you would use this.
So I would use this all the time because then I
Wow.
would know where people were.
It's interesting.
It's pretty cool.
A
It's
very
in
specific way of like having to be forced to use the tools the game gives you. Well, this is just a thing in MGS3. Like he just has this.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
the beginning. And it much like all the tech in MGS3, all the indicators and stuff run out of battery in this.
Yeah.
And same with the night vision goggles.
Interesting.
Sam and I discovered this is fucking dope. I guess chronologically, this is the first time that this technology is used. You can, towards the end of the game, research a soliton radar. So the top right mini map, little like MGS 1 and 2, kind of like the dots.
Yeah.
You
The
can
dots and the cones of vision.
yeah, you can get that in this game. The problem is that the battery drains really fast, but it's
Oh
really
my God,
cool.
so fucking fast.
It's really cool. If you rank it up, I think the battery lasts longer. But it's neat. Clearly they took it out from 3 onward because like people were complaining that like people were just looking in the top right corner for the entire game,
Right.
and like Kojima and company wanted people to like focus on the game itself. This next one is the tank battle. This is another kind of like the Lov type that we discussed.
Right.
Except this motherfucker has way more health.
Yep. Way more health.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this fight?
I cheesed this one
Oh yeah.
How'd you do
on
that?
accident. Yeah.
On
So
accident.
so you have these like cargo containers that you can hide behind, but if you hide too long, like the tank will blow them up and blow them away and like hit you with them.
Which is awesome because it happens in the
but
cutscene, and then it's cool that it happens like in the actual
yeah,
mission.
Yeah, like they actually show it in, which again, PSP, what the fuck. But it did that to one of the boxes, and I hid behind it, and then the box became like a static like thing, and it didn't move anymore or blow up at all. So I just hid behind that, and as the guys filtered behind the box to come and get me, I just CQC'd them, and then I just like when the tank would never come behind the box. So when it would go one way, I would go around the other way and hit it with a rocket, and then it would come that way, and I would run around the other way and do the same thing over and over again until it was dead. So thanks to a glitch, I was able to cheese this boss.
Nice.
Son, I don't even think that's cheesing. That's just what I did on all of these tank battles.
Yeah.
Like literally.
It's called strategy.
Yeah, there's certain parts of the environment. So I guess we didn't talk about it with the Lov type, but the environments in the boss battles are destructible, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Lov type, there's like this little warehouse, and if it gets shot enough, they'll just rip a hole in the walls. And then there's a couple boxes and containers that if they get shot enough or hit, they'll blow up and get dented and stuff. In this one, not only do the cargo containers for the trains get like kicked around, which is nuts when Snake gets hit with it because like everything's just like flying around.
Right.
But there's also like this like big train warehouse, and if the tank shoots the sides enough, the walls just go away. But there's a huge steel girder that's like holding the roof up. That is indestructible. And so I would literally just like using this tiny little sliver of metal would just like stand at a way that like the tank would only hit the girder,
Right.
and then I would just like peek out from time to time and be like, "You can't get me." But yeah, from doing this, you get the Maza Nagant, which is the ENDS sniper rifle from MGS3. It's a tranquilizing sniper rifle. There's no silencer on it, which sucks. And a curry recipe, which curry becomes choice because you can get regular curry, great curry, and fine curry, and they essentially have a way to replenish your health instantly, like fully. I think only, and Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, it's only rations that will automatically replenish if you take lethal amounts of damage, right?
No, curry
When you
will
have
do
them
it too.
equipped?
I think any of this, like tortilla chips, will do it too. Like any of this stuff will do it. It's just
I didn't
the
know that.
varying degrees of how much it heals you.
Gotcha. But yeah, the curries will heal you like an immense amount. Which can we talk about how disgusting it is that somebody's eating hot curry on
It's horrible.
a sweaty battlefield?
It's a nightmare.
Big Boss probably smells like shit
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Ugh.
Well, no, he has that cologne to replenish his psyche, so he's fine.
Oh, that's true. I
That's
forgot
a
about
good
that.
point.
I forgot about that. So yeah, from here, effectively, we are told, hey, the nukes are being transported through this spot. Be sure to like you have to destroy this. What the fuck is it? It's like a barricade that's blocking your way. So it's back in the little town where Chico was. So effectively, we like came all the way up here for the tank. Oh, I remember what happened. We came all the way up here for the tank. We saw that the trains were unloading all the gear into the trucks. The trucks left. The tank blew up the tunnel, right? So you
Right.
can't get inside.
Right.
Well, so here's the thing. It blew up part of the tunnel, but you realistically, Snake could have climbed over the stuff.
I
and gone
know.
into the
Instead,
tunnel.
we backtrack,
And- yeah.
which is dumb. But yeah, so Snake backtracks to the town where Chico was held hostage, and you have to use C4 to blow up a wall. At this point is when they start introducing soldiers with helmets, and I
Yeah.
hated this because like I was like the one-shot trank master, and then as soon as they were like helmets, I was like, God damn it! So I started having to rely on holding people up and CQCing people more. But it's pretty easy to get in
Yeah.
close, especially in this map where it's
Right.
like the little town
It's
or
tight.
whatever. But yeah, you have to have C4 equipped. I definitely came here and did not have it equipped by accident and had to restart the whole mission.
Yeah, because it doesn't force you to. Yeah.
Yeah, so you use C4 to blow up the wall, and then you go in, and like the rewards are simple. You just get like desert camo, which is cool. And you are going, I believe you go to a prison facility through the little barricade. And so I think there's like a little bridge, right? Like a little rope bridge or something like that. And I think right before this, you actually get introduced to snipers. Did you guys encounter the sniper enemy types?
Yeah.
There are a bunch of snipers up where
Yeah.
you can't get. Did
Right.
you guys notice that?
Yep. Oh yeah. You just kind of have to like skirt around them.
Yeah, the shitty part about that is apparently, unless you use the Fulton mine, the way the Fulton mine works is it just releases gas. So the pro tip is you put a Fulton mine down below where the sniper is, shoot it or trigger it, and then the gas will actually knock them out, and it automatically racks them up and Fultons them. The shitty part is the sniper in that mission that's up on the hill you can't get to is apparently like some like S rank like
no
researcher or
Wow.
some shit. Yeah, so apparently there is a way to get him. But anywho's it. So we blow that stuff up with the C4 and we infiltrate the crater base. This is actually a really fun mission. Sam, do you remember this one?
Not really.
This is the one. This is the one where effectively they tell you there's those like rocket launcher dudes. So there's like sort of this like mountainous area, and there's like a little checkpoint box, and there's like a POW that you can get to if you climb on your cardboard box.
Oh yeah. And then it's the one where like they have the guys on the top of the kind of wall.
Yeah. And so there's like a
Yes,
bunch of
okay,
gun
yeah.
turrets, and there's dudes up on a wall, and you have to like covertly. You can either. So this is actually interesting. I think this might be the first game that did this. You can set your cardboard box down instead of getting in it, and you can climb on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use it to like boost yourself up to like taller
Right.
spots. So this level has a ton of verticality where you can kind of sneak around
This
a
is
bunch of different ways.
Well,
but-
so Miller, whenever you go to a thing that you can't climb on, occasionally Miller will be like, it's too high. If you had something to climb with, you could get up there. And I thought either one, I was going to get equipment, or two, you could get up there if you had like a co-op partner. And that was just like, because like a lot of games do that, where if you have a co-op partner, they'll like put places that you can't get to unless you're playing with another person. I didn't realize until I was playing co-op with Alessio that I could have just put down my box and climbed up there.
yeah, because I think I just did it, and you were like, "What?"
You're wait a
Yeah.
second.
The cool thing is you can hop back down and actually re-pick up the box. However, if you land on the box, or if somebody hits it, it'll break, and then you're just fucked.
Yeah.
Specifically in this mission, because you can use the box in a couple different spots.
Right.
I was like pissed whenever I broke it because I was like, I don't want to have to reload this because you only get one box.
Right.
So anyway, but yeah, so you can climb up the. It's kind of shitty because there's these two sentries posted up above, and there's only a ladder, and they can clearly see you any way you get to this ladder. So there's a couple different ways that you can do it. I just kind of like snipe them with the Mark 22. But you can get up there. There's a POW hidden in there and some items, I think. And then you go into this tunnel, and it triggers a really cool cutscene where you're trying to pick the truck that had the nukes based on remembering the license plate.
Yep.
There's
There's like, isn't there
However-
more secret shit? in
yeah,
it?
there's a bunch of weird shit. James, did you get any of the weird shit?
So I didn't, but I was reading about it this morning.
Okay. So you just immediately you were like, I remember the license plate. I'm gonna be a good boy, and I'm gonna pick the license plate truck.
I think I picked. I picked the wrong one first, but I don't remember what I got with it. It was like one of the more tame things that could
Yeah,
happen.
where it's
if
just,
you
like, empty
include
or
them.
something?
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
"No
I
thanks."
think it was empty. And I got it right the second time.
Did you get the secret recruit in the truck?
I did not.
Oh,
but
dude,
I read
it's
about that.
so
And I was
good.
like, fuck, I wish
Yeah,
I would have seen that.
who
That's awesome.
reappears in Metal Gear Solid 5 in Ground Zeroes?
Really?
Like as this guy again?
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Anyway, Sam, tell us about the trucks.
Oh, well, one of the trucks has Hideo Kojima in it.
Oh, just a
And
little
you can
old.
recruit
Just hanging
Hideo,
out.
just
Yeah.
Hideo Kojima.
And I'm pretty sure Big
Boss.
Boss, whenever
And, like,
when he opens the truck, I'm pretty sure Big Boss goes, Mr. Kojima.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hilarious.
I was
And
reading.
you get him back, and like all of the recruits have like names like Alligator and Swan and Dingo and like all these animal names. He's just Hideo.
Yeah.
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 He's got really fucking high intel, too, I think.
Super high.
Which
And
is funny
He's
'cause he
also
made the
the
game.
only recruit that you can fire and then re-get because you can go back.
Oh, he's always back in the
Yeah.
truck. Oh, that's smart. Yeah, some of the other trucks. Sam, did you get the other trucks?
I got one later, like in chapter 5, that had a poster of Mei Ling in it, but I didn't know if there was any other
Gotcha. Isaac, we went through all of the trucks together when you were here, right?
Yeah, you had already gotten Hideo, but
Yeah.
I think we went through. There's one with like gears in there, and he's like, Metal Gear.
Yeah.
That was
So
funny.
dumb. It's just like one with like a box full of metal cogs or something. He's
Yeah,
like,
that's
Metal
funny.
Gear. Yeah, so there's Metal Gear. There's a little guy from Boktai, the Sun solar-powered Game Boy Advance
Oh.
game that Hideo Kojima worked
Oh.
on. And for some reason, Big Boss just goes, he says something crazy like, power of the sun! And it's like, whoa, dude, okay.
Like, chill out.
The Hideo Kojima truck has Hideo Kojima's birthday as the license plate.
Oh.
There's one that just says 777, and it's like filled with boxes filled with like gold and like poker chips and stuff.
Oh.
And then there's one that's the code. It's 140.96, which is the codec for Mei Ling from MGS1, and there's just a poster of her. And Big Boss, who does not know who this is, just goes Mei Ling, and you're like, okay. But most of them I think are empty. There's one full of fish, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. Later on, our good friend Professor ends up in one of these trucks in a really weird way, and this is
Yeah.
where he's hidden, and it's very frustrating.
Yep.
But yeah, so you find an empty truck, and Snake. How does he know it's nukes? He says like it's still hot, or like does he smell? Can Snake
Oh,
smell nukes?
Yeah, he said. I did say something really fucking goofy where he's just like, "I know it's that one."
Yeah, he's like, oh, the exhaust is still warm.
Did he not see them loading the nukes into the truck and then?
Yeah, he did, and he picks it based on the license plate. But like when he opens it, there's nothing in there, and I think he says something like, "They got away, but like the exhaust is still warm, so like I
Yeah.
know this is the truck or something."
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
He's got a lot of weird like like he can see X-ray vision. He can smell really tightly.
tightly.
But he's surprised by a Walkman. So
It's true. Yeah, so and then you get the M19288A 8A1 machine gun here. I think if I remember correctly, it's just another type of like semi-automatic. The way that they break the weapons up in this game, it's like pistols, like Uzi kind of stuff, which is cool because there's like a silenced fucking
Yeah.
like automatic Uzi, which is dope. Then there's like submachine guns, machine guns, heavy machine guns, rocket launchers, thrown weapons, placed weapons, and I think that's everything. You can get a banana.
Oh, yeah?
All you can do is hold people up with it, but it's great.
Pretty dope.
But yeah, so we follow to the crater base of Irazu. And remember, this is where Chico said that he saw the basilisk and all that stuff. And this is where some pretty hefty story shit happens and the chapter ends. So let's camp out here. What do we find here? What do you were you boys excited for this hefty series of cutscenes? Was anybody so Sam, I know you played Metal Gear Solid 5. Were you surprised at all to see a certain relative of Hal Emmerich here?
no, because I knew that Huey was in this one.
Okay. Isaac, what were your reactions to both the reveal of a super eloquently named Hot Coldman
What a great name.
and Hal Emmerich's dad? What were your thoughts on this, Isaac?
Very intrigued. I don't know. Like,
I was sexually provoked.
Well, first of all, I mean, I think even without knowing like the history of the character from 5 and everything like that, I think it's kind of obvious who Huey is. Did you recognize who he was? Like,
Yeah.
realize like what was going
Yeah,
on?
I think it's the
basically
same
the
voice.
voice. Yeah.
yeah, same voice actor.
He
yeah.
looks just like him. For one, sounds just
he's-
like him.
He's in a wheelchair
Mhm.
though.
He is in a
in a
wheelchair.
wheelchair.
He's a little
cool
crippled,
wheelchair.
but you know that's okay. But
I was texting Alessio really quick. Sorry, Isaac.
no,
I was
you're
texting
good.
Alessio and I told him that Hot Coldman sounds like a character we made up for the podcast.
Yeah, right? It really does.
That threw
That's a
me off.
fake ass name.
I'm like, you got to come up with a little better name.
Hot Cold.
Hot,
Is this the
cold
scene where
man.
this is where Hot Coleman just like shoves Huey down?
Yeah, so let's talk about
Yeah.
hurting
Gets
really
fucked
people.
up.
So let's set the scene real quick. So Snake enters this, and this is all leading to a boss fight. So I believe technically this cutscene happens after the truck mission and before the mission 10 boss fight. But it kind of splits it into two.
Yeah.
So there's like this introduction part, and then there's like the pre-boss fight part, I believe.
Right.
Or
yeah.
it does that whole to be continued in the next mission thing or whatever.
Oh yeah, it might do that.
Yeah, so let's talk about that real
It might
quick. So
do that.
before all these vehicle battles and
Yeah,
stuff,
it does do that.
it'll
Yeah, but-
happen that right before these vehicle battle missions, because it's made for like portable play, you've expended your resources throughout the mission as a kindness to the player, which I personally really enjoy this quality of life thing. The game will show you the cutscene revealing the boss, but then it'll say continued in the next mission.
Yep.
And like give you time to go back to base.
Yeah, it'll give
restock.
you a break, which I
Pretty dope.
appreciated a lot.
Yeah,
Pretty
I like
nice.
it a lot. In this, so what happens is the cutscene we're about to describe technically happens at the end of Mission 9, but then it leads into the beginning of Mission 10. So anyway, Snake infiltrates his base. He's overhearing two people talk. He hides, as he does, like the snake that he is. And effectively, what we overhear is this gentleman by the name of Hot Coldman. That
Who
his
is
name.
CIA? He's the station chief.
He in this
facility.
he was CIA. Kind of the implication is that he fucked up and got kicked out and sent to this like shithole in the middle of nowhere.
He's a real ugly guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And later it is later revealed, but I think we can. Well, so I'll camp out on that. I don't want to reveal that too much. I think that'll be a fun reveal to do as it happens. But so Hot Coldman has his hands on the pulse of some shit that has happened before, which unbeknownst to Snake.
Right.
But Hot Coldman got sort of exiled by the CIA to this like backwater post. He's pissed, but he wants to show the boys back at Langley that like he knows what's up. And so somehow he has worked out a relationship where he's working with the CIA, he's working with the KGB, and he's working with the local government to build this sort of like ultimate weapon in Latin America to prove to the United States that like the future of nuclear deterrence is the future of peace. And so his whole thing is he's gotten Huey Emmerich, who, just to be completely brazen with this, is Otacon's father. He's gotten Huey Emmerich to build this robot along with another doctor whose name is later revealed to be Dr. Strangelove. And she says she took it from the Stanley Kubrick film, so that's not her actual name.
Right.
And so the two of them are Huey's big focus is that he focuses on bipedal movement and robotics, and Dr. Strangelove's whole thing is AI.
Right.
And so the two of them together are trying to build this artificial weapon called codename Peace Walker. And Peace Walker's entire purpose is they are going to mass produce them and put them all around Latin America so that their whole point is that they are not a human being. They are incapable of not following through with
Right.
retaliation during nuclear situations. And this game takes place, I think, a year after the Cuban Missile Crisis in the Bay of Pigs. And the quick cliff notes on that is that a Russian nuclear sub operator, because he didn't want to start all-out World War III, did not push the button to launch a nuke at the United States. And thankfully, in retrospect, he's a hero. But as far as nuclear deterrence theory goes, he fucked up. And so Hot Coldman's whole thing is there needs to be a mechanical, robotic, cold, detached system in place that will recognize when a nuke is being detonated by an opposing country and retaliate appropriately, instantly, swiftly, so that the opposition is completely wiped the fuck out and no one can essentially rely on the faults in this system. So his whole thing is to just mechanize the gun that's aimed at humanity's head so that if anybody fucks up, we all die, kind of.
Yeah. And he wanted to, his whole plan was he was going to take Peace Walker and launch a nuke somewhere to prove to the CIA that this is how deterrence should be.
For sure. And based on the Wikipedia article that I just checked out, Peace Walker is not a Metal Gear. Technically, it falls under the Basilisk category, along with who's it from Sokolov's thing from MGS3. What is it called? Shagohod.
Shagohod?
Yeah. So Peace Walker is not a Metal Gear for one specific reason. Peace Walker cannot launch a nuke of its own volition. It has to be force-fed inaccurate data to do it as a retaliation.
Yeah.
Metal Gear can drop a nuke whenever the fuck it wants. So anyway, but Huey's like, yo, dude, like you told me that if we developed Peace Walker, there would never be nuclear war again, and there would never be any issues. And Hot Coldman says, yes, but we have to test it and show the world what it's capable of. And so their whole argument that Snake walks in on is about that.
Right.
Like Huey's like, I don't want to hurt anybody, I don't want to kill anybody. Hot Coldman's like, we have to do it to prove that to people that this thing works. And in typical MGS style, they're just like expository, like vomiting at each other. So like Snake walks in, and it'd be like if me and Sam have known each other for forever, are talking to each other, and I'm just like, Samuel, we have to record the podcast that we've been recording for many, many weeks about this topic. And you were like, Alessio, I do not agree that we should sit down at the computer that is powered from electricity from the wall in order to record this podcast that we've been recording for many, many months. Like they're just like talking like that at each other.
Yeah, it's goofy.
But yeah, the fucked up part. Let's talk about the fucked up part. Hot Coldman, before he shoots a little peace sign and says V for victory, is menacingly pushing Huey in his wheelchair towards some stairs.
Pretty fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real shit move. Hot.
And then he throws him off the stairs.
Yep.
Yeah, like I wasn't expecting him to actually throw him down the stairs, but after a little bit more of the conversation, he fucking throws him down the stairs.
Yeah, and it's fucked up too because he's like, I gave you your legs and I can take him away, and I'm like, dog, that's just a wheelchair. Like, did you buy him a wheelchair? Like, I don't understand. It is like a wheelchair. It's a wheelchair that can climb up stairs. That's literally all it can do.
It can
But
weird.
yes. So anyway, that's a thing. That's what we walk in on.
Pretty fucked up.
Oh, and then Hot Coldman takes Peace Walker, secures it to a helicopter, and flies away.
Yep.
And Snake goes, I gotta fucking destroy that thing. What the hell? And then he approaches Huey and he says, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. And Huey's like, you have to stop him. And so then we rush off, and that's where Snake sees the Peace Walker disappear. And then the pupa comes out, which there are 3 unmanned weapons, the pupa, the chrysalis, and the cocoon. But their whole protocol is to defend Peace Walker. And they were sort of like pre-Peace Walker prototypes,
Yeah.
I guess. So we fight it. So that's the end of chapter. Big boss fight is with this AI. It is just the Shagohod, essentially.
Yeah,
right.
pretty
It's like
much.
the
It looks
Shagohod with like an
just-
electric railgun.
Yeah.
How'd you guys-
Here's the question I have about the AI enemies. And it seems like a big design flaw, but why is the AI pod just out in the open to shoot?
Video games. Video game's the video game.
Yeah, you have all these like really smart people who can make all these weapons that can do all these incredible things, but they can't put the weak point inside of it somewhere.
So it was a prototype. They fixed it with Peace Walker eventually.
right?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I guess Peace Walker's
Yeah.
too, though. It's like underneath. It's like in its crotch,
Yeah.
right?
It's more. It's
Well, it
more
has
hidden.
2. Peace Walker has
that's right.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has mammal and reptile. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They're-
Reptile.
They're brain boys.
Because he's yeah.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah,
fixed
Mom
it.
and dad.
mom and
Mom
dad.
and
Mom
dad.
and dad.
Mom and dad.
Yeah, did you guys have trouble with this? So it kind of telegraphs. So Huey's talking to you over codec while the fight's going on.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't understand
Yeah.
why they didn't take this cue to think that, like, maybe they should be doing this throughout the whole game.
Right.
And have codec calls kind of be happening while you're playing.
Yeah.
Maybe because the missions are so short. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
They kind of loosely tell you, like, hey, it's going to charge at you.
Yep.
Make sure you lay flat. If you don't, you get run over and squashed. Even him laying flat looks like he should get run over. He should be
Definitely.
run over and squashed.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense the way it plays out. but-
Yeah, the boss will also shoot these little electric mines everywhere, and if you don't shoot them before it activates its like electric trap, you'll get like shocked and stunned.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks.
You don't have to
getting
shoot
stunned
all
in
of
this
them.
game.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to shoot all of them, but you can if you have to clear out like a certain swath, and you can kind of like chill in that area while it's about to launch its thing. But yeah, getting stunned, you get these 4 stars around. You have to wiggle the left stick to wake up, and it takes
a
for
nightmare.
fucking ever.
Takes a long
Takes so
time.
long.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm breaking the controller.
when you're in
dude.
co-op, it's easier.
Yeah, because another dude could come up to you and be like, "Hey, wake up! Hey, wake up!" until your stars fall away.
Why are you napping?
It's another thing that doesn't scale. Is that like if you don't have somebody else that can like wake you up and help you, like you just have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was reading, so I was having a little trouble with this, so I had to read up to get little tips, right? And one of the tips was, you can go in one of those 3 little hallway type things, and you can just camp out there the whole battle. And those little shock things that he throws down, if you lay down when the pupa does the shocker, it won't really hit you at all.
Oh shit, Isaac with the
So
pro
if
tip.
you
Whoa.
hide in the little hallway and lay flat, you're good.
Even if like
Isaac.
one of the mines is in the hallway with you.
I mean, it has to be a little far away from a good bit of distance away, but like there was one on one end of the hallway and I was on the other end, and it didn't affect me at all. So I was like, oh, that's pretty sweet. I didn't have to shoot these little mine things. So that helped a lot in this battle.
Nice. Yeah, I think so. On top of just sort of the regular vanilla boss battles, whenever you finish the game, it also unlocks Type 2 and Custom Type versions of all these boss battles, which have like 4 skulls and 5 skulls, respectively. Sam and I did the Type 2 Pupa battle. If I'm going to do that custom type by myself, I think I might like straight cheese it like you just described.
It
but
makes
yeah.
it so much easier.
For sure. James, how'd you
The other
fare
thing
with
that-
this being
and-
your first
oh.
boss? Did you? So James has played a little of MGS3. Did you fight any of the bosses in MGS3?
No.
Okay, so this is like your first Metal
Yeah.
Gear boss.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but how was it?
I died a few times. I got the hang of it eventually, but it was like very much like a trial and error type thing. It felt like really satisfying once I like got the loop of it and started like kicking its ass. But like it was like irritating.
Yeah, that's crazy. I still love that they've just mass produced the Shagohods. What were you saying, Sam?
No, I was gonna say the other thing that kind of gets me in this game, and it didn't bother me so much in like the regular missions, but with the boss battles, you have to react so quickly to things. Is that if you press start, it pauses it when you open up the menu, but if you need to switch weapons or items, it doesn't pause
I
it.
hate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
Which is, like I said, isn't a problem during regular missions because you have the ability to kind of like camp yourself out and not be under fire the whole time. But you're in a fucking arena in the bosses, and like you have to react to their attacks really quickly sometimes. And it just a lot of times, you know, it results in you getting hit or sometimes dying if you're not prepared for it. So
Yeah, I kind of have fun with that because it's like you almost have to like strategically time when you're doing it, but it is also frustrating. But yeah, so essentially the way that these boss fights go is, and just to kind of like peel back the curtain a little on the Metal Gear construction grinding. Effectively, did we mention that we were going to talk about that during the generalities and skip it, or am I crazy? The Metal Gear building.
we may not. I don't know. I don't remember.
No.
I know that we didn't talk about it, but did we say we were going to talk about it during generalities, or did we say we were going to talk about it while it happened in the game?
I think we said we were.
I don't think we.
I don't think we said.
Okay. Anyway, so real quick,
Let's just talk about it.
revisionist history. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the way that the sort of these boss battles work is, and you'll notice as you're doing damage to the vehicle, that these little symbols keep cropping up, where it's like a blue A, or like a yellow S, or like a pink P, I believe. All these different sort of components that you're shooting, so you can, I think, you can destroy the gun turrets. I know you can on the Cocoon. I'm not sure if you can with the Pupa, but you can destroy different parts of the vehicles. I think they do a pretty good job of like showing the damage being done on the vehicles, given that it's a PSP game. But if you attack the AI core, which is this like cylinder, you do no damage to any of the components. You just damage the core.
Right.
No matter what damage you do where on the vehicle, it all attributes to the overall health bar up in the top left. So it's not like you have to damage a certain part of it to damage it. It's just certain parts are weaker than other parts. So the way that this works is if you don't damage any of the components and you take out just the AI core, you get to salvage all of the components from the vehicle.
Right.
Which you then can turn around, and when it unlocks itself, which I believe is after this fight, potentially. I know it's when Huey joins
because
you.
Huey talks about how we can develop our own AI weapon.
Yeah, so if you just attack the AI core, you can salvage all of the parts from the Pupa and put them towards building your own Metal Gear, which is great.
Right.
Unfortunately, of all of the main core parts, you have to have 5 of certain components
Right.
in order to unlock them.
So you have to go back and
So potentially you do have to
redo.
go back. It just depends on how you fight
how you do
these.
it. Yeah.
So again, if you just focus on the AI core, then you won't have damaged any of the components. The flip side is at a certain point in the game, you get to develop your own AI core for your Metal Gear.
Right.
If you don't damage any of the components and you just damage the AI core, you get less AI components but more physical components. If you damage the physical components, you get more AI components and less physical
Right.
components, if that makes sense. So there's a little bit of a trade-off. But regardless, no matter what, when the pupa's health bar drops to 0, you then have to get prompted to damage the AI core to crack it open.
Right.
And then Snake dives inside. What did you guys think of this whole like AI
Weird
salvaging
minigame.
mini game?
It was cool. It was like a weird little like breakup, and
Yeah.
it's different. It's fine.
Yeah, Snake's just trapped in his little
was
like
definitely-
in the AI core, and it's like a circle, and essentially you're just like
Yeah.
wandering
Well, so
around
this
the
is
circle.
where
Weird
that
minigame.
that little song that they sing gets like really creepy because for some reason like you're in this like little tight confined space. It's all red and you're pulling out AI cores and it's singing that song. And it's really unsettling in that mini game.
Mm-hmm. And each of the components that you're pulling out, those are the AI components that you can later use when building your AI, but they only unlock if you damage the physical components enough.
Right.
And you have a limited amount of time. I believe on the main bosses, it's like, I don't know if it's dependent on anything, but I believe it's like anywhere from 45 seconds to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Once you beat the game, if you go back and do these AI battles, while you're changing, so there's different there's different columns of AI components. When you change what column Snake is in to pull, there'll be this like little mini animation of him like rotating around the core. While he's rotating, it'll very quickly prompt you to press triangle. And if you press it at the right time, Snake will pull out a special core that is shaped like a cassette tape, and you like unlock like hidden cassette tapes. And so it's Strangelove, and later on it's Pause tapes that
Gotcha.
you get. The Pause tapes are extremely insightful about Cypher.
Yeah.
And I think they're like mandatory listening. It's just fucked up that they're super hidden in these like
Yeah.
extra battles. And then the Strangelove tapes are about her relationship with some characters that will be revealed. But yeah, that's effectively the way the boss battles work, is sort of fight this giant robot and then harvest its parts like it's a Monster Hunter boss.
Yeah.
And then build shit out of it. But yeah, you get chaff grenade design specs. You get the throne version of the support supply marker, which is dope. It's like a
dope.
grenade instead of like a box that you have to set. You get night vision goggles, and you get an ID card from Huey to open Strangelove's lab, but he's unsure as to whether or not it will actually work because she hates him, is what he says. Which is great. I love their whole relationship.
It is good.
Did you read his letter?
Can you read it?
Yeah, you can if you go into the key items on Mother Base, you can go and read the letter. And it's just like this like really bumbling like, hi there, and like
Ohio.
I wish I remembered like the details of it, but yeah, it's very awkward and very like cringy a little bit. But you can go into the key items. He gives you a letter to take to Strangelove, and he tells
When
you
you
not
find
to read it. But if you go into the key items, you can definitely read it.
Yeah, I didn't realize you could. I saw it in the key items, and it says like don't read it, but I didn't
Yeah.
see like a prompt to open it.
Huh.
That's funny.
It's interesting.
It's like the model view. You have to go into the model viewer for it, and then it'll start scrolling you can't read it. You can't read the model of it, but it'll start scrolling the text on it at the bottom of the screen.
That's funny. Nice. Well, and that sort of concludes chapter 1. I think essentially what ends up happening is Huey just tells you essentially what we just told you about Coldman's plan.
Yeah.
He talks about the 3 different AI weapons that are kind of floating around. It's cool. You can kind of zoom in and out of his lab while he's talking to you. And if you look in the corner, there's not only a Metal Gear Mark II, which is like the tiny little Metal Gear from MGS4 that follows Snake. It's also in Snatcher. But you can also see there's a model of Metal Gear Rex in the corner. And unbeknownst to I don't know, I guess I had assumed that they just never called it out again. But Snake and Hot Coldman both kind of call out that Huey stole the plans for Metal Gear from Granin in MGS3. Like they pretty much directly say like you stole this technology from the Soviets, like
Right.
you're a fraud.
Yeah.
And Huey gets like really butthurt about it. But yeah, it ends with Huey coming back to base. We get the Metal Gear Zeke option to fuck with, and you can assign him to the R&D team, and he's like obviously dope. And then our next sort of course of action is to find Dr. Strangelove, who should also give us more information on Peace Walker as well as where the tape was recorded that Snake plays back. Chapter 2, The Phantom Hero. Yeah, so yeah, I guess this is a good title for the chapter. I was thinking about it for a second. So we have to travel to the inappropriately named Cloud Forest in main ops number 11 because boy oh boy was my imagination racing with me whenever they said the Cloud Forest. I was like, that sounds great, and then I showed up and I was like, oh, what is this?
Welcome to the jungle.
Yeah, okay.
Oh man.
But yeah, this one's super simple. This is literally just like you're heading north towards like this place where the Mayan ruins are and Strangelove's lab is. I don't recall there being any sort of fanfare cutscenes for this at all. I think it was like a pretty simple, straightforward thing.
Pretty just a lot of movement.
Yeah, am I misremembering anything? Can somebody fact check me on this?
I think you're good.
Okay, cool. I think that makes sense. So we're looking for this researcher. We're going typical stuff. I think so I do want to talk about this. This is one of the best parts. This is where the scouts show up.
Oh yeah.
I love these boys.
Yeah.
These boys made this game difficult again and made it fun and made me stay on my toes and kind of made me feel like I was playing a survival horror game because it's like these guys blend into the trees and stuff.
Spooky.
And if you don't know where the spawn points are for the soldiers, because they're kind of very specifically placed.
Yeah.
And like even when you do the extra ops, like they're kind of always in the same spots.
Right.
But at first, at least, it's like real spooky because you're like, anywhere I go, there just could be a dude in the trees, like in a ghillie suit or something. So they're kind of fun. Night vision goggles kind of make it easy. You like throw them on for like a
You can
split
see 'em,
second
yeah.
and just like scan.
Yeah.
But yeah, after this, we have the attack chopper battle. It looks like a Hind D. It's at this little waterfall section.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool. Did you guys like this?
Yeah, I liked it. It was fun. It it died a lot.
Yeah, this was the first battle, the boss battle that I was just like, okay, this is fine. Because it starts out with a bunch of dudes on the ground and the helicopter flying around, and if you handle the dudes and you focus on the helicopter, occasionally the helicopter will pull off to the side and its doors will open with the intent of dropping more dudes. But if you fire a rocket at the door while it's opening, not only will you damage the helicopter, but you'll just kill all the dudes.
It's great.
Yeah.
All the chopper battles are kind of play out that way until I think in some of the later ones they fuck with you and start sending dudes in to sneak up on you from behind while you're fighting the chopper.
Yeah.
But yeah, at first this one's pretty simple. It's kind of hard to get the guy to stick his head out, the commander, and
Yeah,
it's hard to hit him once he's out.
I was gonna say, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
I had issues with that.
Yeah, once you clear the dudes out, it's another one where it's like, so I guess the magic formula here is clear out all the dudes, whatever way you're gonna do it, and then you have to destroy the 2 tanks.
Right.
So this one has the 2 fuel tanks on the wings.
Yep.
Which aren't that bad.
No,
I always just
finally
like
sticks his head out.
Yeah, I've noticed that it's hard to break the tanks with rockets.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of have to use bullets to
Yeah,
do it.
you really gotta pinpoint, shoot it. Do you know, does it work if you destroy will he stick his head out if you just destroy the tanks and don't?
Don't kill the dudes.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think you have to get rid of the dudes.
'Cause I
You either
know-
have to trank them or kill them.
Yeah, because the only time I did that with the lav, he popped out before the guys were gone.
It might be a certain threshold
Yeah.
of guys. Like
Yeah.
you kill like 75% of the guys. Based on this list that I'm looking at, apparently there are 21 dudes that get dropped during
Too many dudes.
this. Hashtag too many boys.
Jeez.
But yeah, it's pretty
Too many
simple.
boys, Alessio.
reused
Too many
this-
boys.
They reused this map for a cool extra op, which we'll eventually go into. The interesting part is there's an extra op where they kind of reuse this map, but you just have a gun turret in the middle and you're shooting unmanned drones out
That's
of this
pretty cool.
guy. So it's kind of fun. The 2 big rewards for this attack chopper, you get the sneaking suit as something you can develop, and then the FIM 43, the FIM 43. It's essentially it's a lot like the what the fuck is the name of that rocket launcher from MGS 1 and 2? The Stinger missiles.
The Jimmy Stinger missiles.
Where you can go into first person and it'll like it'll
my
lock
gosh.
on to components. But yeah, you can also just fucking blind fire it. But it takes forever to reload. But yes, so this next mission 13, you're heading for the lab in the ruins. Effectively, this one kind of sucks because I don't know why. I guess I was like, until you upgrade your silencer pistol, you run out of silencer by the time you get to this point, essentially. Because like every mission, you have a set.
Run out of silencer.
Yeah, you have like a set number of shots, and it's not like MGS3 where you can just screw another silencer on. You only have one silencer per mission.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I
That
ran into
killed me
issues.
on a
Yeah,
lot
the
of
scouts fuck with you pretty hard on this next one because there's just tons of dudes. And with the helmets and the added armor, it's really hard to trank them with less than like 2 or 3 shots.
Yeah, no. The scouts in this mission. This mission was a little rough, I think.
It's hard.
too.
There's a lot of
Oh, sniper boys. The shitty way that I discovered them was if I took a corner too quick, I would just hear somebody say, "Did I just see something?" And then I would stop moving, and then they'd go, "No, it's nothing." And I'd be like, "Where the fuck are they?" And I would just literally like poke my head in different directions, and they would constantly say, "Did I see something?" And then I'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then you would see like a question mark like halfway across the map, and you're like,
Yeah.
"There he is."
damn.
The problem too is that if they're laying down, you can't CQC them.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
And it's
so
hard
if
to
you
pop
see
those
one,
boys in
you
the
can
heads
use.
too.
Yeah, because if you see one and you try and like, it's like, okay, my plan is he's laying down. I'm gonna sneak behind him and CQC him. You can't CQC him, and you also can't Fulton him from a laying position either. So you're just kind of like, well, I guess I have to shoot him.
Actually, Sam.
Can you
Butthole
Fulton
shot.
him?
No, you got a butthole
I
shot
was
him.
gonna say you gotta shoot them.
Oh yeah, you gotta shoot him
Straight
in the,
in the
shoot
hole,
him in the
dude.
butthole.
Square in the hole.
Straight in the hole.
There's an achievement for it.
Is there really?
There's an
Yes.
achievement for shooting somebody square in the asshole.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's like, I don't know. You're pretty good or something. I can't remember.
You're pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's what it is actually.
But yeah. So then we go to this lab part. But here's the shitty part: the key card that Huey gave us doesn't work.
Of course not.
He was absolutely correct.
He's crushed too. He's like, does she really hate me that much? Because much like his son, Huey is mad in love with the tsundere villain.
The
Classic.
tsundere villain with like blonde hair that's like hyper intelligent.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it's all these like super intelligent women that just want
Runs in
nothing
the
to do with
family.
them. But yeah, I guess Naomi is a brunette, so whatever.
all the same.
But yeah, so we show up. It doesn't work. Snake gets frustrated. We're trying to figure out what to do, and I believe this is where the Cecile meeting triggers. Correct?
I think it happens right before this. I'm
I
pretty
thought
sure.
it was right after because she's the one that tells you where the key card is.
Yeah. I think it is right.
Oh yeah. You're right because
Yeah.
So Snake's wandering and just like happens to just find like Bay Parisian like laying in the trees.
She got to check out them birds.
Yeah. So essentially, there's this female in her underwear, laying in the grass. Kojima just wants all women
Oh,
in their
she is in her
underwear and in the
underwear, isn't she?
forest. Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why?
And she tells Snake, like Snake's just like, "Who are you?" And she's like, she looks really injured, and so he gives her this like mate drink, this like special like South American, Latin American kind of drink. What the hell is in mate? Isn't it just like crushed up?
I have no
Some
idea.
sort of
what's in it.
roots or something?
It's some fucked up
It's like an
shit.
energy
It's
tea
plant.
or something.
Plant tea.
Yeah, and so he gives her this mate, and she drinks it, and she's telling her story, and she was out legitimately looking for birds.
She
And-
is the bird photographer that we
Yeah.
all wish Snake could be.
Well, and so the weird thing is she totally
he-
matches the description of Paz's friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what's weird is Paz doesn't know who she is.
That's not who she is. Yeah.
And so, but she's got a tape recording, which is the exact same tape recording that Paz showed us.
Yep.
She says, "I was out here recording shit." She's very like, Blow Up with John Travolta or like Enemy of the State, where she was like, yeah, I was just out doing some shit and
Yep.
recorded some fucked up stuff and
Yep.
got killed. But yeah, so she's out recording the Quetzal, recording its song, and she accidentally records what sounds like the boss, and then she gets hunted and captured, and then she is blindfolded for an extended period of time and held against her will while she hears these two women talking to each other all the time. And she also makes mention that the one woman is constantly bathing her by hand every day.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And the woman who's holding her hostage says, if you follow orders, you'll be released in a month. But if you take off your blindfold, you'll never make it out of here alive.
Oh my god.
And Snake says,
Oh no, I'm remembering now
Go ahead.
because he meets her before the gate, and then this story triggers in his memory when Huey's ID card doesn't work, and he calls her at Mother Base to figure out where the ID card is or who took the ID card.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that had happened. But yeah, so essentially he's talking to her, and she says that she stole a key card from a guard, used it to get out, and then they took all of her clothes and her passport and
Right.
everything away from her, and all they left her with was her underwear so that she wouldn't get away.
Right. Yeah, because she didn't want to wait for a month. She was like, I'm getting the fuck out of
Yeah,
here.
she's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Because she was scared. And so she makes it out. She breaks down in exhaustion. Snake finds her. She says, I lost my key card somewhere in the woods. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Snake says, hold this. And she flies. But before Snake sends her away, he does his whole, she's like, who are you? And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm here taking pictures of birds. She's like, what kind of birds? And he's like, birds of the battlefield. And she's like, well, I'm actually a bird expert. And he's like, God damn it. And essentially, it's kind of fucked up. He calls Miller, and he's like, I got another civilian we need to send. And Miller's like, we don't have room for civilians.
Yeah, Miller's real against.
Yeah.
Like, nah.
And then Snake's like, hey, you don't have room for this hottie with a
Yep.
body?
And
And
he's
Miller
like, "Oh,
just
never
goes,
mind.
oh, fuck.
Send her home."
Send her home, baby. And it's like, God damn
Well,
it.
and then like right after it happens, I think Snake like calls her on the Kodak,
Uh-huh.
and he's like, "How was it to fly?" And she's just like, she's real into it.
Oh, yeah. She's like,
She
amazing.
loved the experience.
Yeah, I know a couple French girls. They're good friends of mine. And by French girls I mean like legit like have this accent. This voice actor keeps breaking accent pretty
Oh,
hard.
a ton,
It's frustrating. Because I'm like, why couldn't you just get like a French
Yeah.
woman to speak English for you?
Yeah.
Like, why do you keep hiring these non-French speakers? But anyway, she's great. Miller loves her.
Miller does love her.
She's never again in. I don't think she's in 5 at all, right, Sam? They just
No.
like they threw that Parisian
Oh, that's a bummer.
out with the bathwater.
She's so cool.
Yeah, she's pretty legit. She's got some fun little mission briefings. She'll tell you about birds and stuff.
I think the
learning about
idea.
birds.
I think the idea is that like when Mother Base was evacuated, they essentially got her back to France.
Oh yeah,
That's
and that's what
probably
they say too. Because she's like, I don't have my passport. I don't know how I'm gonna get home. And Snake's like, oh, we can have some dudes take you home whenever. And so it's like, okay.
That's good.
So anyway, she takes off. She's cool. She, as you guys have alluded to, she notifies you, hey, my key card went missing. And so mission 14 is she gives you the description of a guy who has the key card. This mission has a fuck ton of enemies based on what I'm looking at here. It's got 18 enemies, which is almost more than some of these boss battles with the vehicles. But specifically, the guy she needs you to look for is just a dude in an orange vest.
Yeah.
It's like the only guy
Pretty
to
easy
this
to
point
find.
with an orange vest.
Yep.
And you just trank him and Fulton him. But before you Fulton him, you have to smack his little ID card out of his body.
Yeah.
If you just Fulton him, you fail.
Yeah, you fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
sucks.
like, I guess that's good.
It's whatever.
Thanks,
it kind
game.
of sucks. You have to carry the ID card in to the mission prior and this mission, I think. The mission 15 after in your equipment.
Oh yeah, you have
Which
to
kind of
select it.
sucks.
Yeah. it's
so you
weird.
lose an equipment
They
slot.
do some weird shit like that. That like
Yeah.
I don't find super kosher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just never, I don't know. I guess unless you're trying to evoke some sort of mood with your, like if you're like, hey, the whole point of this game is that like there are trade-offs
Yeah.
and we really want to like build like a sense of dread. Like if it's like Resident Evil and survival horror and
Right.
you're like, I want to make the player feel
Right.
uneasy,
100%.
then like cool, limit my inventory.
Right.
If it's a game like this, like Snake's carrying so much shit on his person. You're telling me he can't put a fucking plastic ID card on his
Right.
body?
Right. Well, they also don't, like, in situations where if you don't bring, like with the C4 thing earlier with the barrier, like, they don't, like, really warn you that that's a thing. They're like, hey, you should really look at your...
Yeah. Some of the missions will say, like, things you can't carry.
Right.
But it's never things you have
need
to carry.
Yeah. It's
which is
weird.
frustrating. But anyway, so then once Base Seal hooks us up with the ID card and we take it, we go. We have this Chrysalis battle thing is the next mission. However, before the Chrysalis battle, again, one of these end of mission 14, because once you get the card, you go to the space. End of mission 14, beginning of mission 15, which is a Chrysalis battle. We have an extended cutscene. And boy, oh boy, is a big one. As I am customary to say on these episodes, especially when we run long, I feel like I've been talking a lot. Does anybody want to volunteer to tell us what happens in this cutscene when we meet Dr. Strangelove?
I can. It's heavy.
It's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Super heavy.
Yeah. So, you go into the facility and you run into the boss's horse. That white this white Andalusian, I think is what it was. And
which at this point, like, what a fucking nightmare. Like, it's been 10 years.
Oh yeah,
You
this
know, I
horse
keep,
is
like,
old as fuck.
Vaguely hearing this woman's
Yeah.
voice, and now I'm fucking face to face with her fucking horse.
Yeah,
yeah.
Please.
poor horse. Dog bless. Like,
So
the fate of this horse is awful.
Oh god, it really is.
Yeah. A lot of stuff happens with this horse. But you run into this horse and then you're confronted by this woman and Snake's like, you must be Dr. Strangelove. And Strangelove is very upset with Snake because he killed the boss. And she's
Spoiler
like really
alert
upset.
too. I think Strangelove is. I'm gonna quit saying spoiler alert at some point in my life. But
Well, I mean, that's the point. That's the point of this podcast,
Yeah.
isn't it?
yeah, right. Strangelove. It is heavily implied,
Yeah.
and further heavily implied in the cassette tapes, that Strangelove has a romantic relationship with the
Definitely.
boss.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so I think at most the boss is bisexual. And if it's not reciprocated, then at least Strangelove is in love with her. But I'm pretty sure it is reciprocated.
It seems like it's reciprocated.
Yeah.
My read was definitely that it was
Mm-hmm.
reciprocated.
Which is great. They're phenomenal
It's fucking
characters. They're
dope.
both great. They're not overly
That's, like,
sexualized.
depth.
That's the weirdest thing is, like, so Vamp's sexuality as being bisexual was played up for almost like a joke
Yeah.
in MGS2. But I will say that the bisexuality in this game is not, like, hammed up or overly sexualized or, like, perverse. Like, in a game where Miller is saying the shit that he's saying, I almost half expected him to, like, come up on the Kodak in the middle of this cutscene and he's like, ooh, hot. You know what I mean? But
Well,
he
so
did-
that's the case though. But I think you kind of tapped into the difference with Snake was Vamp's bisexuality being that he was a man and these
Oh,
were women.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's got to be a cultural
It's-
thing
yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Like a Japanese cultural thing where it's like, oh, men being gay is like a punchline. Like
Yeah.
women are overtly more tapped into like emotional sexuality or
Yeah.
something. So maybe it's like less of like a joke. 'Cause I feel like Japanese RPGs do the same thing where it's like the male gay characters are always the joke.
Yeah.
Like Kanji in Persona 4 is a joke character. Unfortunately, I love him, but
Which-
he's treated like a joke
yeah.
character.
yeah, which could have been like a big like breakthrough for that
Right.
representation in games.
But it seemed
was
like the
not.
way that they, like, fuck with the Snake and Miller stuff, like,
Oh yeah,
They
it's very
teach-
like bromance.
it's very, like, bromance, but, like, always kind of, like, teetering in that direction. But, like, when it teeters in that direction, it's kind of played up for laughs. It's
Yeah.
like,
LOL. Yeah, or Final Fantasy 15 too, where it's like these
Yeah.
are some hot boys that are traveling together a lot.
hot boys.
But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, continue, Sam. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so Strangelove is like really mad at Snake, and she feels like she was left behind by the boss, and she wants to know like the truth of what happened because she's mad at Snake because Snake chose chose America over this person who essentially like raised him.
Yeah, and Snake's just
And,
like fucking indignant about it. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do
Like,
you guys? So
super
I
indignant.
want to ask you guys about this. Do you think Snake's doing this intentionally? Because towards so we'll get into it in part 2 of the story stuff, but like there's a certain other point with Strangelove where he just kind of, in my opinion, straight up says, "I'm just telling you this because I don't want to give you what you want." So, like, do you guys think that Snake is intentionally withholding information, or do you think that he's so in denial
I
that
think-
he's just repeating this?
I think that like it's a mix of both, because I think that like part of it is like he's so in denial, but the other part is like he doesn't want to give this person that satisfaction because he can't get that satisfaction, and he knows he'll never get that.
Yeah.
So he's purposely withholding it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's like a little bit of both, and like they kind of like dig into that towards the end of the game a little bit too. I think it's a lot to do with like him not wanting to kind of believe, because they're like, obviously we'll get into it in part 2, but he gets like really upset about like the boss at the end of the game for some stuff, and
yeah.
I think it's a lot of that, a lot of both, a lot of it being both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think I know Kojima likes to add themes to this, and it was like meme gene scene, and I think for this he just straight up was like the theme is peace, but like I feel like the theme for Peace Walker is grief.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when it's us, it's like grief and like doubt and denial, because it's like it's been 10 years, and it's like this is kind of the first time it seems that Snake has been really like confronted with like what happened 10 years ago, and like doesn't deal with it well.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that
Yeah.
like Big Boss's whole trajectory is like him not dealing with
Yeah,
the boss's
totally.
death well
Totally.
at all.
So Strangelove's whole goal is to figure out like what the truth of like the boss was, if she did in fact like betray her country, or if she was a hero to the end. And so she has Snake come into the her lab, and she shows him this AI pod called the Mammal Pod that is essentially the boss. Like, it's the boss's military history, her records, her operation files, his physiological stuff, like every little thing that the boss has done during her life. They made the Mammal Pod and are using it as a base for Peace Walker.
Yeah, it's very Minerva's Den, like Bioshock
Yeah,
2 DLC.
it's really
like,
Definitely.
how do we recreate a dead person's personality, like in
Yeah.
this AI?
Yeah. But she wanted to know, and Snake said, Snake essentially called the boss a traitor, and then Strangelove was like, well, then try and destroy the AI. And Snake was being called like the pod was calling him Jack, and he was like kind of enticed by this AI. And he was in the AI pod, like pulling out the AI things, right? The AI stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He cries
this
a
whole
lot during
time-
this stuff too.
Oh,
like every time it
it's
shows
sad.
him, he's just like he's even like
He's
weeping
heaving.
Yeah, no,
out
he's
of
pulling
his.
it out.
Yeah.
He's weeping out of his eye patch,
Yeah.
and I'm just like,
Yeah.
fuck, man.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. Well, I do
but
wonder
he's-
too, like how much of like his denial to tell Strangelove anything else is like he's like experiencing this AI as such a faithful recreation that he doesn't want to give it the rest of the story because the boss is dead
Yeah.
and he needs her to be dead.
I agree with that because I mean, it's sort of like
Yeah.
they'll have that conversation kind of later.
Right,
'Cause
yeah.
even he's like, I want answers from
Right.
this AI.
Yeah.
It's fucked up, man. Oh, and it's so weird because the boss is this very. She's like the boss is like one of my favorite video game characters because she's just so nuanced to the point where she's like Snake's mother and yet like Snake's like love interest
Yep.
and like Snake's like soulmate, like
Yeah.
all wrapped into one.
Yeah.
And she's just so fucking good, and this game just like is a love letter to her as a character.
Totally.
But
Yeah. But yeah, no. As you're pulling out the AI things, these flower petals, like the ones from the battle with the boss in 3, start floating around. And I think it's implied that Snake is like imagining this. And he's like recalling the boss from that battle, and then eventually he winds up passing out. And I believe he winds up passing out, and Strangelove gets away with the pod and everything.
Yeah, I think after he passes out, he wakes up in the field of plants outside of the lab,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when the Chrysalis battle, like Mission 15, happens. Is she like whatever she attacks him with the AI weapon or whatever.
Yeah, this is a relatively short chapter.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about it is that throughout, I remember they do the motion graphic comic version of the end of MGS3.
Yeah.
So like,
Yep.
there's this whole like boss is talking to Snake, and you have to press like R1 triangle and like left and right on the D-pad at specific moments to kind of like redo the battle. But the interesting part is that the dialogue feels like it's dialogue from before. It's like a mishmash of dialogue from the end of MGS3 and dialogue from the beginning of MGS3.
Yeah.
Because at the end of their fight, she says like, "I'm defecting."
Right.
And it's like she definitely didn't say that at that point because like he knew.
It was cool, like the way, like one, like I think the art style really lent to this, but like that mishmash of dialogue, I thought really lent to the fact that like this is kind of Big Boss like re-experiencing his trauma, like having to confront it again. I just thought that was so fucking cool.
Yeah, just in general,
Absolutely.
I don't know. Again, like it just like further adds to like the end of MGS3 is like the best fucking boss fight in video games. Like it's just so good. And we'll get to it because like unfortunately we will have to relive some of the trauma twice over.
Yeah, we will.
How did you feel about this, Isaac?
About
like
shooting
all
a
that
dead
we
horse.
just-
No,
Well, no,
not
that's
yet.
later.
Isaac.
Oh, I don't know what we're talking about right now.
I
I thought that's what we're talking about.
No, we're talking about this whole. I said later we'll deal with the double trauma. I'm talking about like right now.
Fumbling in the dark
All right,
with
well,
Isaac.
let's rewind. Ask me again.
We haven't done that in
Sam.
forever.
Ask me again, Sam.
Ask me again. How are you feeling about all this right now, Isaac? Like all that stuff that happened in the lab, and the reliving the battle and stuff like that.
I thought this whole cutscene was very well done, like the way that it kind of plays with your emotions, because I'm assuming they assume the player has already played the like MGS3, and so these flashbacks are kind of getting into the player's core emotions. It got to me a little bit, remembering that.
Because like Snake's reliving them at the same time
Right.
we're reliving them too.
Yeah, exactly. And back to, I don't know who said it, but about some of the dialogue getting mishmashed. Maybe that's part of Snake.
That was me.
so sorry. Maybe that's part of like Snake. He's having these memories and just kind of like mixing the memories together, and this is like his dream that or not dream, but like his memories that we're kind of seeing in a stream of consciousness come out of him, and some of it doesn't make sense from a timeline point of view, but for him it's all bled together, I guess.
Well, it's kind of like what James said, how he's like 10 years ago this happened and he hasn't really had to confront it until now, so like all of the memories are like streaming back at once, and that's
flooding
maybe
right
why
back.
it was happening that way.
Yeah.
Coming in hot.
It just dawned on me, and I think we can just say it here. Throughout the game, at the beginning, and specifically if you do the shirtless Snake stuff, and if you've been keeping up with the games, Snake should not have a snake scar on his chest.
No,
But he does.
No.
And specifically, Strangelove calls out like later on in the game, but I think we can do it here.
This is why you have the same scar.
Yeah, she says like you're telling me that you don't harbor any emotions for this woman, and yet you're decorating your body with her memory.
Yeah, she specifically calls out like you're wearing the bandana.
Yeah, and you have that scar on your chest. And so it's like Snake, I feel like Snake was fucking super hit hard with this thing.
Yeah.
Like in a way that I don't think, honestly, in a way that I don't think Kojima is properly telegraphing to us. Because I feel like his behavior and like Big Boss as a character literally builds an army and decides to take on the entire fucking planet because of how much he cares about one woman.
Yeah. It's heavy.
That's insanity. And yet, like, I don't think the games necessarily translate how upset he is about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like really heartbreaking how frequently it's happening. And like, I don't know, man, that was like one of the best parts about this game was like, I can't wait to share this with my like much in the same way that when we did the MGS3 section, regardless of how disappointed I was in Cameron's response to the end of that game, I was so excited to be able to share with you guys this like really heavy sort of emotional shit in this game.
Yeah. And it's like as emotional and heavy as it was in 3, like it comes like throughout this whole game, it comes back hitting fucking hard in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I think Peace Walker to me is like the beating heart of Metal Gear. Like, yeah, like it's an anti-war game that also plays in the tropes of war, and it's like this difficult thing to kind of like really break down because it's like there is some gun fetishism going on and like war fetishizing. And yet the big like sign that's being held up is like war is bad, war hurts people. And yes, there are these big ideas of like memes and genes and blah, 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 things we pass down to our children. But I think like at the end of the day, like the Big Boss stuff resonates so much because it's just like so emotional.
Is this, having not played the bulk of the series, is this like up there with like the most emotionally in touch stories that are told through these games? Or is this on par for the...
No,
yeah,
I mean,
I think it's also like probably the most personal story too, because a lot of the themes of the previous games at this point were very large scale and like almost like conspiracy theories. But this is like it's a direct sequel to 3, and it's about like you said, the main theme of this feels like it's grief and like coping with that. Yeah, and so there's this big. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I will say, like, for me, like, not having the full
this is your
context
first
of,
fucking
like,
Metal Gear game.
having like grown up playing these games and like I'm really coming to this series like kind of late in life, knowing what I knew, kind of like with cursory knowledge, like I did not expect this depth, and like this fucking game got to me.
Yeah, it's good.
It's like there's you of course you have like this whole like overarching theme, like story of like deterrence in the Cold War and everything like that, but it kind of takes a back seat to Snake's like personal journey, like trying throughout the game.
Well, it's super interesting too, because like so Kojima was like a young man during the 70s, and he like talked because he was born in like 64, something like that. So he was like a young man during the 70s, and he even often talks about going to like Nagasaki and Hiroshima like nuclear like detonation museums, and like talking about how like he lives in, and this blew my fucking mind, he lives in the only country that's ever had a nuclear device detonated like to hurt people. And like that's true. Like 100% that is true. And it also dawned on me that like during World War II, before the nukes even got rolled out, the United States like dropped bombs over Tokyo, and I didn't realize burned 2/3 of Tokyo to the ground.
Oh wow.
Before the nukes even came out.
Yeah.
So it's like Kojima has like on record just said that like he is from a country that has seen like a level of destruction and death that like no other country has ever dealt with.
I think that's why I think like I don't want to get like too deep into this, but I think that's also kind of why they're like these days they're like kind of like eccentric and like colorful and stuff like that. It's because like maybe almost because of that, because like after World War II it was just like they have seen like the Japanese people have endured some shit.
And it's like, and so he even cites like Barefoot Gen, all these like post nuclear bomb detonation like manga and movies as like super influential. And we'll get into it, but like the Project Itoy or Ito sort of memorandum, like in memory of, that happens at the end of this game, which is like a science fiction writer who writes in these like very broad stroke Japanese like pain and suffering kind of analogies.
Yeah.
In a weird way, it's like this being an anti-nuclear war game and this being like very much like a 70s peace kind of game. It's like it's not only like grief and suffering and pain for the loss of a loved one, like a singular loved one, but it's like pain, grief, and suffering and mourning the loss of like an era and an innocence, like in humanity. And it's like, I don't know, I don't want to like project too much onto the source material that's not actually there, but in the fact that this is dealing with like 70s tropes and sort of that ideology, it's crazy that like Big Boss and co have to become warmongers. They have to become monsters to protect the world from monsters.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, it's beautiful. And like that's the reason why it's like going into Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, and I know I've ragged on both of those pretty hard from a story standpoint. I wanted a sequel to this, and like they don't emotionally get to this.
Yeah.
Like they're mechanically the best the series has ever been.
Yeah.
But like they are so neutered in terms of like story development.
It's so disappointing.
And it's upsetting.
Because this is so stellar.
Yeah.
Like even like on like a broad view, like looking at like the themes of like distrust in your country and distrust in your leaders, like the whole fucking like V for Victory thing, like them taking the peace sign and like turning that on its head. Like there's so many little things that they do that like fucking hit to the core of emotion really well. It sucks that it sounds like they didn't do that.
Yeah. It sounds like they were going to do that, and then like production got nipped in the bud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
isn't that how it always goes?
Yeah. So anyway, I know we've been camping out on some like post wrap up thought stuff, so we should probably dive into this Chrysalis battle. Let me dry my tears real quick to the boss, and talk about this Chrysalis battle. How did you guys feel about this? Sam, you are on record as saying that this is your least favorite AI battle. Why?
It's just so annoying. It's just like it's because it flies. So there's a couple of different reasons why I don't like this battle. One, it flies around a lot. Two, when it's not flying around a lot, it sends kidnappers out at you, and you have to deal with those because if you don't, they grab you, and you have to shake the stick to get them to drop you, and it's annoying. It's just really annoying. There's not a whole lot of places to hide that I could find, so it's just like it's very much like, fuck it, you're just gonna have to run around in circles. And again, it suffers from the fact that it doesn't scale in difficulty for single player, and you're
Like
having
Borderland.
to replenish your supplies with supply markers a lot in this battle.
What's crazy is going back and playing this battle after I finished the game and playing the Pupa battle after I finished the game, like 6 shots from the law and I won. Which is crazy. Like I was just like, eat this rocket. And then like, but before I ran out of ammo, I was like, oh, I'm done. Like this is great. So it's like in a weird way, because I tried to like go back and replay just to refresh before we recorded. And I was like, this isn't that bad. But I think originally like it is pretty tough because you're having to hide in those ruin nooks. And so it's funny. You referred to Pupa as he. I just keep wanting to call him she because, like, the AI. Now that we know that the AI is the boss, the little la la la's, I'm pretty sure that's the boss singing, right?
Yeah, because it's all like iterations on like this boss AI that they were trying to build and perfect, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of fucked up. I guess if you think about it from Big Boss's standpoint, he's killing the boss again every time he fights these.
Over and over. He has to relive that moment.
That's crazy.
Constantly.
I will
Konami,
say here,
please give us a better version of this. This is like a PSP stripped down version. Give me the good version of this. Please.
The thing I'll say about this too is that, so of course we're at this point we're building Zeke, right? So we talked about how if you attack the AI pod, you get more main parts, but if you attack the parts, you get more AI units. If you don't damage specific parts of each of the AI bosses, you'll get optional parts. So Chrysalis will give you a railgun and a ray dome if you're careful not to attack the railgun or the ray dome that it has.
I actually got those my first time.
Yeah, Pupa will give you the jetpack, and then Cocoon supposedly gives you armor.
Yep, never got it.
I've heard.
Yeah, Sam and I
but,
ground fucking Cocoon into the ground.
Oh my God.
And we didn't get shit.
Yeah, we couldn't do it. But so I wouldn't say that Chrysalis's AI parts are the hardest to get, because I think the armor is the hardest to get. But because of how kind of randomly it moves and flies around, it's very, very easy to target the Raydome and or hit the railgun in the Raydome. And the FIM, I think personally, I don't know how you guys played through it, but the FIM I think is necessary because and locking on is necessary in this battle, I think.
I hate that thing because it doesn't lock onto the AI core. It like locks on like just above it. And so I found that it constantly damaged parts when I didn't want it to. And I don't know why it picks the parts that it picks to lock onto.
But just and that's, I agree with that for sure. But it's just like, I tried it with the law because obviously I died the first time because of course I did. I tried it with the law, and like I felt like it moved too like quickly and like jerkily, and when it wasn't moving, I was like getting attacked by kidnappers.
I'm trying to double check real quick. Do we unlock the battle uniform before this fight, or do we still not have it?
I think it's. I can't
soon. Remember.
I think it's right after this.
Oh, it must be during an extra op because I'm not seeing it on any of the main ops.
Yeah.
Oh no, you unlock the battle dress for the first Peace Walker battle.
Yeah.
Yikes. Oh,
Ways
buddy.
to go.
Yeah, this is a game where like when you unlock the new shit, you just forget what life was like before it, like instantly.
Yeah.
Isaac, how did you fare with this? I know that you and I also like went through and rewatched some of the cutscenes together and talked about it. Did you get a chance to double down on some Chrysalis battles, or did you just kind of like speed through this stuff?
No, I did. I went back and played this, and my sentiments with Sam, because I also hated this.
Oh no!
battle. I mean, it was fine. I didn't like the little drone guys because I got pulled away like those claw machines quite a bit, and but I don't know. I guess it was just one of those helicopter battle. You just like fire rockets at it, and then eventually it'll go down.
Totally.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why Chrysalis is my favorite of the three.
Really?
I don't know why.
Really?
I hate Cocoon, and we'll talk about it, but I hate Cocoon because I feel like there are just too many things that can hurt me during that fight. And I hate how clunky it is to get around.
Yeah.
It's like a fortress.
Yeah, and Pupa is just like easy to the point of being boring for me. And so with Chrysalis, I just like really enjoyed it just because it was like felt like I was just like constantly moving, and if I was doing what I was supposed to be doing correctly, I just wouldn't ever get hit.
Right.
And so it just kind of felt like that perfect balance of like, yes, it sucks if you get hit, but if you know what you're doing, like you should be fine kind of deal. And I don't know. I found that I enjoyed it. I hate having to wait for it to circle back around. Like that was kind of the shitty parts. But like, I don't know. It wasn't too bad.
I can't imagine like trying to do that without like any rockets or anything like that. Like just trying to like be fucking difficult on yourself for it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna machine gun this thing.
Woo! A nightmare.
Yeah. And then on
what
the
I
flip
will
side,
say,
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say
No,
on
go
the
ahead.
flip side, it sucks to only have rockets because I didn't want to waste any rockets on the little drone guys.
Dudes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I would just like try to dodge them and run around them, but they're just so annoying. But
Yeah.
You always got to rock one machine gun and one rocket.
yeah,
Until
I
you get
realized
battle
that. Yeah.
What were you saying? Tim?
no, I was saying like what I will say is that after I texted you that and told you how much I hated Chrysalis, I think after going back and playing it again to like kind of farm parts and stuff like that, I will agree with you that I think Cocoon is my least favorite one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just there's too much. Like there's too much going on.
Yeah, it's not that like I don't think that Cocoon is I want to find a good way to say this. I don't necessarily think it's difficult. It's just clunky.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in literally 3 missions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so once you fight Chrysalis, same shtick. It falls down. You break open the AI battle tank or the AI core. You climb inside, and then Snake pulls all the parts out. One of the things that we noticed from doing co-op for this is that while Snake's inside pulling parts out, the other players have to keep fighting the boss.
Oh.
So even though the boss is dead, technically, like its health is diminished, you have to fight the boss while Snake's pulling the cores out.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you have to like
we
stay
found that
alive.
out, yeah.
It sucks.
It's pretty intense. But at the same time, it's like 45 seconds or something,
Right.
so it's like not a huge deal. But it makes sense because like, what's the
Right.
other player gonna do? Just like
Right.
sit there.
Just chill out, yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to think. After this Chrysalis situation, she just flies away again. Snake tries to take some shots at it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it takes
Well,
off.
she
with
flies
Peace
away
Walker.
right before. She flies away in a hind with the mammal pod, and then that's when you fight Chrysalis.
I'm sorry, I was referring to the Chrysalis as she. So I meant the Chrysalis
gotcha,
flies
gotcha,
away,
yeah.
right?
Well, the
does
AI
it
pod
die?
after each battle does that. Like it freaks out, and then
yeah.
it just rockets off into space or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uses its little booster pads.
Yeah.
And I think Snake just sits there and he's like, "Fuck," and he just sees where the
He just
helicopter's
stares
going.
at it.
Yeah. Snake does that weird thing where he just like dead eye stares and then aims down the iron sights with his eye patch eye before every battle, and you're
Mhm.
like, "What are you looking at, bud?"
Yeah. What do you see? Is that his
And like
X-ray
and like
eye?
he does that like as they're on top of him, like the gun later on when we fight Peace Walker. I think it points like one of its gun directly at his face at one point right before the transition to the continue to the next mission. And he just stands there
Yeah.
with his fucking
And he's
eye
like,
patch
"What?"
eye with no
Yeah.
emotion on his face. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Looking like Max Payne. Yeah, so I think that's about it on the Chrysalis. Let me see if there's anything that unlocks interesting. You get the Carl Gustav Mark II, which is pretty legit, and I think that's it. Which okay. And so then we end up into Chapter 3, A Nation Reborn. And effectively, this is the whole "we're not going to take it" moment. Let's like fuck Peace Walker up. Let's do this. MSF is starting to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. We get tipped off like, hey, this is the base that they're taking Peace Walker to, is sort of this like underground facility. And we have to go through this mine base. It's like, it used to be a strip mine, but it's like a front, I think.
Mhm.
And I think this is probably one of my favorite areas in the game, is this little like mine area.
Yeah.
Because you can go like up on top of buildings,
It's
and
cool.
you can like sneak around. There's a bunch of dudes. This is, if you listen to the Generalities episode, this is where the Assassin's Creed straw box is located. I think the flip side to that straw box is like, even if you walk around in it, like people don't think to check it.
Ah.
So like they're not like, "Huh, what's that?" and then like come and look under the box.
Yeah.
Like I think you're just fine.
Yeah. That's neat.
So I know a lot of people say that it's like a dope way to fight the vehicle battles,
Yeah.
because like they don't stop to
Right.
look at it.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's pretty good. It's super simple. You're just like in the mine base and you just trank some dudes. That's literally mission 16. Like that, it's one map, right? And then you
Mhm.
go, and then
Yeah.
there's like a little cutscene, and then you end up in this little underground cave base area. It sort of looks like, if anybody's played Mega Man Legends on the PlayStation 1, it's like that the ruin that the pirates are trying to dig into. It's just like this big open crater with like different sort of paths around it. It's interesting. You almost have this double boss fight. So it's like mission 17, you're fighting a shit ton of guards. It's like 24, 25 guards or something in this big, like I'd say one of the biggest open maps in the game.
Yeah.
And I feel like it leans into like sniper rifle play,
Yeah.
but I didn't do that. So I like just ran up to the dudes every time
Right.
they came out. But this is the same area that we're going to fight Cocoon like right after this. So I guess it's kind of treat it like 2 phases of the same fight. How'd you guys handle the guard elimination?
I didn't realize it was gonna be a fight like this. So I just went in with like my Mark II and my machine gun. And there's some kidnappers that you blow up with a machine gun. I just fucking like, I personally thought like unless you were just standing out in the open, the snipers are real bad at hitting you.
Mm-hmm.
So I essentially just sniped the snipers across the way with my machine gun, and then just kind of threw grenades
Kept
and
rolling.
rocket launched some people.
Yeah.
Rocket launched people that were across the way.
I had a very similar experience. Like it was kind of guns blazing for me. This is a return to form for James.
Yeah.
This is a return to
This was
chapter
one of the, like,
James.
This was one of, like, I think 3 missions that I would just went balls to the wall, like,
Yeah.
kill everybody.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing. I Fultoned a couple people because like you can Fulton them when they're like in critical condition or whatever.
Oh,
You just have to
yeah.
like wait for them to get healed before you can
Mhm.
assign them. But yeah, I tried to Fulton them. Since this was before the battle dress, I definitely like leaned into healing my using all my item slots for healing. So I think I just had like Fulton and a shit ton of healing stuff.
Definitely.
I think I did the Mark 22 and the Mazda Nagant for this whole thing. Maybe I had the little submachine gun. I can't remember, but I definitely like injured a bunch of guys too. I think it's 24 enemies overall, so it's not too terribly bad. You get the M60 design specs and the Sonic Eye. I think it's like level 2 or something design specs. Isaac, did you mess around a bunch with this, or you just kind of tank and spank it?
Tank and spank.
Oh,
like
you can
that.
we should probably reference this. There's an item you can develop that's a bulletproof shield.
Yeah.
And so every time
Yeah.
I would do
Oh,
stealth, I
nice.
would actually rock this bulletproof shield because as long as you're using one-handed weapons, you'll throw up this little shield.
That's dope.
So it's pretty sick. But sorry, go ahead, Isaac.
Yeah, pretty much just run and gun, tank and spank,
Nice.
as you say.
In this exact same area, right as Snake is about to enter this base to go after Peace Walker, which like to foreshadow what's going to happen in the part 2 episode of this podcast. I really like the interiors in this mine base.
Oh yeah.
It's
Cool.
It's like a callback to MGS2. But anyway, the Cocoon, which again, going back to my analogy from Mega Man Legends, is just this giant tank that rolls into this crater in the ground. And it's massive. This is probably like one of the biggest bosses in a Metal Gear game, I feel like. And we fight it here. And so the Cocoon is the 3rd and final AI battle. For some reason, all the other AI battles, you can have 4 people. This one, the max players are 3.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
I wonder why.
Oh, weird.
I wonder if it's maybe limited by the environment.
It
so
might
it's like
be.
you can't have that much shit happening on
Right.
screen.
Well, maybe the environment, maybe because it's so fucking large,
Yeah,
it put strain on the, like, it maybe put strain on the PSP at the time.
maybe. But yeah, it's crazy. You can get on this boss. You can ride around on the boss. You can get under the boss.
hang out
You can
under
get
the
around
boss.
the boss. You got to be the boss.
Definitely got to be under it.
Yeah. I didn't know about the vent thing. So Sam, tell me about this vent thing. Did they say it during the
Yeah,
codex
so
thing?
no, they don't. I found it on accident. So there's a couple different ways you can kind of tackle the boss. I found out that James, you said you don't really gotta get under it. If you are spry enough, you can make it
Brag
happen
about
without
it.
getting underneath it.
James, I hear
but
what you're saying,
happens
but
is-
nah.
I hear you, but nah. Trust me, as somebody who wound up playing these things over and over again and became an expert in them. I have S ranks in all 3 of the AI battles at this point.
Whoa.
Damn,
Yeah,
dog.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah.
S rank
Uh,
Sam. That's what I'm gonna start calling you.
S rank Sam. No, but one of the probably preferred and recommended ways to do this is you essentially spend most of the battle underneath Cocoon, because there's enough room underneath it to just kind of walk around. And there are a couple hazards that you have to look out for if you do that. One is that it has this like weird machine gun arm that it shoots you with if you're under there for too long, which you
Talking
can
about
kind
the
of avoid
chainsaw
by
arm?
like poking out.
Talking about the
Yeah, it
Gears
has like
of
a
War
weird chainsaw machine gun. Yeah, weird arm. But if you kind of like hide in between its treads, you can kind of avoid that until it goes away. The other thing is that occasionally it'll like essentially try and sit down on you.
Oh yeah.
And you have to you have to press the action button, and then Snake like holds it up so it doesn't crush him, which okay. And then occasionally it'll start singing, and at that point it'll start rotating, and if you're not moving constantly, you'll get run over by the treads. But like for the most part, all of its like big damage dealing attacks miss you if you're underneath it. So what I was doing was I was under there and I was trying to see if I could blow up the gun, and I was shooting at it, and I was kind of like not shooting it very well, and I damaged one of the vents enough, and I saw it explode. So underneath it, there are 2 vents, and if you go down there and shoot the 2 vents until they blow up, you can take off 1 chunk of its life bar.
That's awesome. Does it act the same way that like the gas tanks act on the other bosses?
No, it doesn't stop it from like moving around, but it's kind of just
Gotcha.
like a small thing you can do under there to make it like
Nice.
kind of give you an immediate advantage, because you can like drop down and run underneath it like immediately, and like you'll right off the bat within maybe like 10 seconds each vent, you'll have a life bar down, which is not typical for these battles.
Nice. The one shitty thing about this, and the reason why Sam and I were unable to get that cocoon armor so much, is because there are so many moving parts on this thing and so many gun turrets and random shit all over it that, like, even if you're using a machine gun to pinpoint just the AI pod so that you can salvage everything else, based on the way it turns and stuff, sometimes like the hitbox for some of these gun turrets will get in the way of the core. After a certain point, I don't know if it's because the cocoon runs into a wall or if it's because of like an explosion from you shooting at it. But one of the ladders, there's like a ladder, like a service ladder that falls down, and you can climb up onto it. And what me and Sam did during our co-op version of this was I just ran straight to the AI core with a fucking ranked up shotgun, and every shot chipped down a bar.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, boom, boom,
Jeez.
like to the AI core. It was like 48,000 damage or something is
That's
what was
crazy.
popping up. I was like, oh my God.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was a
Um,
lot.
But the other way you can do it, and I think the way that Miller tells you to do it, is like you can plant C4 and stuff once you get on it. You just have to be careful because there's turrets that can straight chew you up when you're on top of it. And it launches... sorry, go ahead.
The ones on the tippy top of it, if you do a dive roll through the cross stream of them shooting you, it doesn't really hurt you. It doesn't damage you, so it's easy to avoid those. And it'll launch missiles, and if it locks onto you, all you have to do is kind of move to the other side of it. It's kind of easy to stay up top, but you have to get up there quick because the ones on the second level of it will kill you.
Yeah. There's I can't remember what the fuck they're called, but there are those little like, it's like it shoots a missile into the air that then opens up and sort of like spirals down in like a helicopter fashion, and it'll shoot.
S-mines.
Yeah, the S-mines. It'll shoot like the little shots out of them too, and those things are annoying as fuck. But yeah, overall pretty fun. You get in there, you strip it of its AI parts or whatever, kind of typical, and then Snake goes down into the underground base for mission 19.
Well, so the best part is he presumably did not have a way to get in there, but because of happenstance,
yeah.
a piece of its armor flies off and breaks the door, and that lets him get in there.
Hell
Yeah. I forgot about that. It's super goofy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we are about halfway through chapter 3, roughly. We are going to continue our coverage on our next episode. So this is continued on the next mission. And we're going to do the remainder of chapter 3 and then chapters 4 and then the sort of super secret, it's not super secret, but it's semi-secret chapter 5 stuff on the next episode of the show. So yeah,
Yay.
enjoy. Yes. I think that's about it. Does anybody have anything to say about the parts thus far that we played? Did you guys enjoy it up until this point? Did you guys find yourselves kind of already in the charms of the game's story, or was it until the stakes got higher towards the end that you found yourselves more kind of in the...
I think that, like, it kicked off for me, like, when you kind of meet Dr. Strangelove. Like, that's when I really was like, oh, shit, I'm invested. Before that, it was like, okay, let's do it. Let's keep going.
Sam, what do you think with this being your first time through?
Well, I think where it really, I was into the story from kind of the start. I think where it really pulled me in was when there was a character named Hot Coldman.
Yeah.
That's when I was just, and he throws Huey down the stairs. I think is where I really started like, oh, this game's sick. But I enjoyed myself. Like I said, I was after the first like mini boss, the battle with the lav, I thought that I was gonna maybe potentially be like I was gonna, well, I guess we'll use it as a verb in this one. I thought I was gonna Cameron this game.
No.
But after I kind of got a little bit more into it, I realized that no, it's just the kind of the way the game scales its bosses that bothers me, and the rest of it, the story and the mission structure and everything else is brilliant. So I'm enjoying I was enjoying myself, and I did enjoy myself.
I'm super jealous of you guys because in effect you get to play like a super secret Metal Gear game that you didn't know existed, that like now you just have as like a new, like I wish I could just like wake up and be like, oh, there's a whole Metal Gear game I've never played, like let me play this. So I'm excited that you guys are getting to experience something like new.
Yeah, it's really weird because like the whole concept of this podcast when we started it was, hey, half of us have played and half of us haven't, and it's weird being on the other side of that fence for once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
Isaac, what do you think?
What's up? Yeah, I would agree with everybody here. And at first, when the first few missions, it kind of felt like it was going to be pretty repetitive. But then it definitely opened up, and as the story progressed, and then you see characters that you kind of recognize. That's kind of when it starts to like pick up for me. Was when I would have more of a vested interest in these characters instead of just like, oh, Snake, do this, oh, Snake, do that. Yeah, so pretty much agree with everybody, and yeah.
Nice. I'm really happy that Kojima and company decided to go embark on this experiment for the PSP, because arguably, instead of giving us like a true console remake of this, this led to 5 and like everything about it. So it's cool that this was even a thing, because I think a lot of the systems and mechanics that people laud 5 for, like, were very present here already. So they were just sort of perfected, I guess. But
yeah, it's
nice.
Kind of like their playground.
Yeah. So I'm excited to finish it up, and hopefully everybody at home is excited to listen to this at home or in their cars or in a bathroom or wherever you listen to podcasts. Yeah, so just to wrap everything up, tune in next week where we have part 2. Week after that, we'll be doing co-op and extra content discussion. And then week after that, we'll be doing listener responses. We are batch recording this, so unfortunately, if you have listener responses that you'd like to submit for Peace Walker or questions, we won't be able to cover them in that episode now. But please submit them anyway, because we'd love to talk about them at a later date. Yeah, it's been great. As always, if you want to support the show, we are able to sort of cover things like hosting costs, and we are shifting some things and getting a website put together and getting the show up on Spotify and stuff like that. So any amount, even if it's just $1, helps keep the show running and helps motivate us to continue to work on the show, even over a year and a half that we've been committing to the show thus far. So if you like what you hear, please consider donating. At certain tiers, you get episodes early, and then at other tiers, you even get non-Metal Gear bonus episodes of the guys talking about other games. Yeah, outside of that, you can find me on Twitter at AC Summerfield, or at acsummerfield.com. Guys, where can people find you?
You can find James at JamesRackMuth on Twitter.com.
Nice. Sam?
You can find me on Twitter at Sanjul. It's SANJUUL. Another way you can support the show is by going to bit.ly/MGM store and purchasing some shirts that I made that I hope you like. We've sold several already. I know that we have. I can keep track of analytics. 2 people who we thanked on last episode have posted pictures of their merch that they purchased. And if you feel like supporting the show by buying a shirt, or something like that, you can go on there, and if you post it on our Facebook page or tweet us about it on Twitter, either to us personally or to the official Twitter, which is at Metal Gear Monday, we will shout you out on the show. And I've made all of the merchandise in the store as cheap as possible while still being able to make a profit on it. So I hope you appreciate that fact.
That's awesome. Yeah, and likewise too, if you do enjoy the show and you don't have money to spend, sharing and telling folks about the show goes a really long way, but also writing reviews on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast is fantastic. The other thing is with Jordan Vogt-Roberts doing his 31 Days of Metal Gear, hashtag Metal Gear 31st, I think is what it is. Please consider sharing episodes of the show with that same hashtag and potentially tagging Jordan Vogt-Roberts, because it would be fantastic to get eyes on this thing. And seeing as there's a big push for celebrating 31 years of Metal Gear, this is kind of a great opportunity to promote the show. Along those lines, I want to say special thanks to the Foxcast. We just recently had a couple listeners send us emails saying that they found the show because of a mention on an episode of the Foxcast, which is another Metal Gear themed podcast. Apologies if we inadvertently threw shade at any non-MGM Metal Gear podcast at any other time.
We definitely have.
Yeah, we absolutely have. But that's because we're just a bunch of shit-talking goofy boys. But much appreciation. I believe that the context in which the Foxcast mentioned us was that they learned some trivia by listening to us. And they said that we're a very informative show that people should check out. I think the way that we kind of present our shows are a little different. So you can definitely listen to both of us and everything's A-okay. So I'm probably going to start checking out that show a little bit more in depth. And I just want to say thanks. So, yep.
Yeah.
Isaac, yep.
Hey,
Wake up, Isaac.
Can they even anymore?
get me at doesn't have a twit. That's without an apostrophe. If you try to put an apostrophe, good luck.
Great. Perf. And that's the show. I don't. This is episode 71, and I think I've run out of ways to.
I don't want to say it this time, Alessio. You get one of the other ones to say it.
I don't want to say it either. James, have you ever said it before?
I have said it before.
Isaac, how many times have you said it?
Hey, I think I've said it about 14 times.
Wow.
Whoa, dude.
It's very
Okay.
I think I've said it the most times.
Probably.
I believe.
If we
How
went
many
back and
times-
listened
how many
to all
times
of the
have you
endings of all 70 at this point 70 episodes of Metal Gear Mondays,
Yeah, I think
I've
Sam's
definitely
probably said it the most.
times.
Yeah, I think I've probably
So
said
I
it
don't
the
want to
most.
say it anymore. One of the other ones say it.
One more time, Sam. One more time for
No.
books.
No.
Play us out, Boxy Boy.
No,
All
I'm
right,
not.
here we go.
I'm not
I
gonna.
got it.
I'm not
I'll
gonna.
say
You're not
it.
my real dad. You
I'll
can't make me.
say it. They played us
Yes.
like a refrigerator box, damn it. It's just a box.
Just a box.